From the John DeVito Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Paranormal Radio with Bob Trzeciak on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. So sit back and enjoy Paranormal Radio. And now, here is the king of Paranormal Radio, Mr. Bob Trzeciak.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. It's always nice to come over here and do these shows on these nice cold winter nights when there's really not much else you can do except stay inside and talk and do radio or sit and watch TV. So thank you very much for allowing me to do these shows the once a month that we've been doing them. We've got a nice mix of folks tonight. We have a nice mix of people here with some varied interests and stuff like this. So it's going to be an interesting show. We may run a little longer, John, if that is all right with you. Normally we do an hour, but I've had people on here where the conversation is just going, and we'll sometimes go to hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes we do it. So if you don't mind, John, if things go okay and we're not all bored to death with each other, we'll no, I don't think that's going to be the case at all. We'll run a little longer here. Before we start doing the show and before I start introducing the guests, a couple of things I did want to mention is Clockwork Mobile Escape Rooms with Colin Dunlap. And you three sitting here should know Colin from Midnight Terror. You know him from that. And I sent Colin a message yesterday. We were yickety-yakking back and forth on the computer. And I says, oh, give me the information. I says, I'll mention you on the radio and put in a plug for you for Mobile Escape Rooms. That would be super. That would be wonderful. He says, if anybody mentions your name and mentions Paranormal Radio that they heard this, he says, I'll give them $50 off on that. And he says, I will also pay you $20, meaning me, you. But I will not take the $20 he pays me. The $20, if this does happen and somebody does go with him, which I'm hoping he does get some business from this, the $20 that he would pay me, I'm going to give to John for the radio, because that would be only fair that he gets it. So anyway, Clockwork Mobile Escape Rooms. Mr. Colin Dunlap runs that, and he's also my boss, too, at Midnight Terror when I'm working over there with them. Phone is 219-323-2211. Mention Bob Trzeciak, Paranormal Radio, and you'll get a $50 discount on the escape rooms. He's got like 3 different ones he runs. He's got the Salem Witchcraft Trial. He's got one that's a haunted mansion, and then he does the Egyptian room one. I like the Egyptian one because I'm into the Egyptology. I like that one. So it's kind of neat. And he does a lot of other things, too. So give him a ring if you're looking for any kind of entertainment there. And talk to Colin. Again, that is 219-323-2211. He's out in Indiana there, but phone service is pretty good, so you can still talk to him in Indiana. Okay. I wanted to mention a couple of things for this month. This month, February, is 2 things. It's Black History Month, which I think is very worthwhile noting that. And I've been seeing a lot of things, Black History, and today, before I came here, I was off in the mall, and they had every store had something like in the front for Black History, and I'm very happy to see that, because very often that is a part of our history that is so overlooked. But now it's really coming to light good, so I'm glad to see that. And then also 2 Presidents Month, because we have President's Day and George Washington and Abraham Lincoln's birthdays are in February, so we have that. Black history is kind of a neat thing, so very often overlooked. Many notable. I do a whole program on notable, like everybody talks about. You hear Black Lives Matter. I do one called Black Deaths Matter, where a lot of famous black people are buried and where their grave sites are and all that, and what they've contributed to the system. Last week or the week before, the 25th, I was doing a presentation at the Alsip Library all about Sears Roebuck and Company. I mentioned Mr. Chuck Harris, who was the first black executive to work for Sears in 1961. He got hired. We owe a lot to that gentleman because his nickname was Mr. Plastic. He, as an executive for Sears, introduced plastic garbage cans, plastic kitchen utensils, plastic storage boxes, everything plastic. And that was his idea. So a lot of these folks do a lot of things that we're not even aware of that they contributed to those. So, and over there where I live, and you too, Tim, over there in Worth, where you're at there, we're very close to a lot of cemeteries there. Matter of fact, the village of Alsip, where I live now, one of the first things they did when they incorporated the village was no more cemeteries, because we're surrounded by 13 cemeteries, and we're very, very close to the Lincoln Cemetery and to the Burr Oak Cemetery. And there's a lot of notable folks buried in there, Emmett Till being one of them, too, over in Burr Oak Cemetery. A lot of research and stuff into that. I actually knew his cousins. Emmett Till's cousins, yeah, I actually had them on the radio when I was doing the show over at WIRG. One of them has passed away. They were actually with him when he was abducted. So it was kind of neat talking to those 2 gentlemen. One is still alive. Mr. Simeon Wright has passed on, but Reverend Wheeler Parker is still very much alive and still likes to talk about Emmett Till, his cousin, and all that happened to him. So a lot of things for Black History Month. You'll be hearing a lot of these things. Okay, that will be enough of that. Now, to introduce guests, Miss Eileen Walsh. And Miss Walsh is associated with the Channel 4 TV, cable TV over in Palos Heights. She does a cable show over there. And actually, I got contacted by them, or they contacted, I don't know how it worked, but some mutual friend must have introduced us somehow. But anyway, we played telephone tag for a few days, and we got together, and I'm going to do their cable show next week, Thursday. But I says, before I do your show, I'm going to get you on my show on the radio. So Eileen is with us tonight on the radio, and she's going to talk about something about the literacy program.
I am.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that a bit, too. And then we've got Mr. Tim Griffin. Tim, say hi.
Hello.
Okay. We know Tim can talk. Yeah. Tim, I know Tim from Midnight Terror. Tim is one of the costume ghouls that they got there. He's one of the actors for the Haunted House. He does a good job with that, and he does some things with the paranormal, too. A couple of times I was talking to him about some stuff, a little bit about the Roth House. We're going to talk a bit about that tonight. We'll get into that a little bit with that. And then he also brought a friend along with him, Miss Sarah Beatty.
Hello.
She's another one of the ghouls over at Midnight Terror. Yeah, we're all kind of Midnight Terror people here in one form or another. Yeah, except for me, because with a face like this, I don't care what kind of makeup they put on you. Just can't. Just too handsome. You could never disguise this. So I've got the perfect face for radio. Although now when I do the TV, people will actually see what I look like. I did TV a while back though too. I think about 7 years ago, I was on a public perspective show. It was a cable one out in Elmhurst. I did that, so I think maybe 3 people saw that show. Anyway, Sarah Beatty is here with us. Carrie Bean. I said it right. I said Bean.
You did. Hello.
Yeah, and Carrie's here. She's got a store that sells all kind of strange things that go bump in the dark. Yeah, her store is called Moonlight Bean. And if you're looking for anything, occult rated and supernatural and those type of things, that's what she does over there. Hopefully, too, I will be doing some palm readings over there with you, too, one of these days.
We'll for sure, yeah. I definitely
and then Lisa Delightus. Delightus.
Like I'm delighted to meet you.
Yeah.
Lisa Delightus is here, too. And she's I don't know, what is she? She's a cousin of yours.
She's my cousin. She helps us out at the shop, but she also does a estate sale business. So we kind of work together with a lot of things.
Gotcha, okay, yeah. So you're into all kind of stuff,
and
too.
And we've been into the paranormal for quite some time.
Oh, yeah. You're always into the paranormal all your life. That's how I feel about it. People always get asked. I'm sure you guys all get asked that question. When did you start getting involved in the paranormal? I can't remember not.
I don't remember
involved.
not.
Yeah.
Same thing. I says I just can't remember not being involved with it. Well, Eileen, nice to meet you finally.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah. And you're going to talk about your literacy legacy.
Yes, I will. Shall I just jump right in?
Go right in and tell us all about it.
And I will connect my story to your story through ghost stories and banshees. And I grew up. I'll tell you the trajectory to my encouraging everyone to write their story. I grew up in the Irish countryside, one of 12 children. And we didn't have running water, electricity. It sounds like 100 years ago, but really it was only 50. But we still had old people telling stories and young people listening around fires, neighbors, and there were ghost stories and banshees and stories of war and stories of survival. And fast forward to being in the States, being an attorney, and I do estate planning. So I teach people to do their wills, their trusts. We create those legal documents. And in order to do so, I have to learn about their lives, their assets, their family, sensitivities, secrets, taboos. And I realized their needs unfolded through these stories, but then legal documents were created, and the stories got left on the shelf. So I discovered this ancient tradition of an ethical will, whereby the patriarch of the family, this is pre-Bible, would talk on his deathbed about how the farm was tilled or how the business was made successful and what he would want the family to do, hence the ethical will. However, it's morphed tremendously since then. We women got our hands on it, and we are the story keepers. So it really now is this beautiful way to leave your story, not a big biography, not a memoir, just 15, 20-page legacy letter that has your hopes and dreams for your family, a little bit of ancestry, just enough to place yourself in time and history, as well as who you were and what drove you, what your purpose was, and the stories to support that, and then how you would want it to be remembered and the lessons you want to leave for your children. It's an absolutely beautiful idea, and I have, for many, many years, I have encouraged my estate planning clients to write it, and now I turned it into an online course so that anyone, anywhere, can write their story.
That's interesting. I like that. I like that idea.
Thank you.
Like you're leaving your little legacy, behind you, and that's nice. Yeah. I've been trying to do that for about 3 years now. I've been trying to write a book. I've actually got a couple of ideas for books, and I says I want to just write, get them out there and get them. And I says when I'm no longer on this earth, sitting in some library shelf, probably under 2 inches of dust, sitting on the shelf, there will be this book that I have written. That will be just a little something that I'm leaving, behind for the world. Yeah.
Can I say to that, Bob, is that I think we all acknowledge that we're all of our attention spans are probably a little lessened than the days we would read the tombs. So I think the idea of writing something much shorter that we know we're going to get finished and is more likely that someone will read. So does everyone have a book? Of course we do. We have these big
Sure we
lives
do. The book of your life. Absolutely, yeah.
But if we can just kind of get the bubble, the essence, and get that captured quickly and easily, and then I always say, then write the book if you want, then fill it out if you want. But sometimes even getting that one letter written, because it's hard for people to take the time for themselves. They give it to everyone else, and they absorb the lives of everyone else, but they just won't take that stage for themselves for a while, and that's what I encourage them to do.
Some people might be a little, for lack of a better word, maybe a little creeped out by something like that too, figuring, I'm writing a letter that will be, something that I'm not here with, and I don't want to do this. Some people, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that yet. I'm still here, and I don't want to do that. That kind of thing. Me, it wouldn't bother me at all because I'm not going anyplace anyway, and when I do go, I'm going to come back anyway. But I've decided that. I've always said that. I said somewhere at my funeral, somewhere I want just on a little ribbon, on a card, somewhere on a flower or something. I'll be right back. That's all I want written there. That's it. I'll be right back. But you can learn a lot by people's headstones. We all, I'm sure, have spent time in graveyards and that, and I spend a lot of time in graveyards, cemetery research and things, and it's amazing what you can learn by headstones. Some are very humorous, some are nice, and just by the few words that are on that stone, you can kind of get a picture of maybe a little bit of what that person was like. Some of them are a little humorous. Some, one, I told you I was sick. She says that. Yeah. Yeah, so some of them you do find some humor in tombstones too. Yeah, you do find that. But they're interesting. I like them.
Could I make one last point?
Absolutely.
Because I'm such an
not a last point. We want you to be talking. I don't want this to be your last point. Yeah.
This story that we write this for those coming afterwards. We write this for our family, but the greatest beneficiary is us.
Absolutely, yeah. You're leaving a little something behind, some sort of a little legacy. Yeah, nice. I like the idea. So now how do people get a hold of you to do that? You're an attorney, you said.
I am. So
you are an attorney. Look at you.
Wow. Thank you.
My goodness.
So I have a practice in Palos Heights, and it is estate planning. That's my baby, wills
That's what
and
you
trusts.
Do. Oh, okay.
So it's easy to find me at Curlin Walsh Law, and my little program is called Share My Legacy, and it's has its own website, but it's also can be found at Curlin Walsh Law. That's the best way to get a hold of it.
Now, is it true or is it a fallacy that I've been through this a few times because I have many people that have passed on, but so I kind of know the answer to it, but I want to hear what you have to say about it. Is a will really is not worth the paper that it's written on? Because a will can always be contested by somebody somewhere out there.
Well, the genesis of that idea is that a will is designed for court and probate.
Mm-hmm.
The trust is the baby.
That's the thing. I was hoping you would say that. You got to do the trust. The trust is the one that kind of like, that's sort of written in stone. That's chiseled in there. Yeah,
that's the magic.
That's the one you got to do. Yeah, a will. A lot of people think I have the will, so I'm safe. But no, will can always be. Some cousin can come from New Jersey and say, well, your mother always promised me that emerald ring. Where's it at? Yeah, somebody can always lay claim to that. Anybody can, really. I'm sure you have people that just sit and look at the obituaries and say, there's somebody that we have the same last name with. Let's hone in on this and see what's up. So, yeah, peculiar. You have these people out there that do that kind of thing, yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I like what you're doing. I like that. I like that idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice. I like the whole Irish background, too. I didn't think, listening to that accent, I didn't think you were from Kankakee, you know. I kind of figured you were from the Emerald Isle there. Yeah. And boy, you guys are loaded with ghost stories. Yeah. And now, see, that's one thing I love about Europe, if you've ever been, is they're much more open to the paranormal and to ghost stories than we are here in the States. In Ireland, England, Wales, they often advertise in real estate, as I'm sure you well know, house is haunted. And there have been cases where people have actually gone and sued because they said, well, we bought the house and we didn't get the ghost. So, you know. Yeah.
I will tell you later a really interesting story about how ghosts are codified into the law in real estate.
Yeah.
But I want to hear from our other friends
okay,
first.
That'll be fine. Mr. Tim Griffin.
Hello.
Nice for you to be here, sir. Thank you for coming. Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, Tim does, like I say, he does one of the characters over that Midnight Terror. That's his sideline that he does that. He also has his regular job that he does in that. But Tim also is involved in the paranormal, too, and a little bit with the Roth House. We were talking about that a little bit before we started the show. Got here kind of early. So I'd like to touch in a little bit there because he's had some personal experience with it. Just in case you aren't familiar with the Roth House that's out in Watseka, Illinois, it's sort of a little off the beaten path. You gotta kind of have to be looking for it to find it. If you're just like driving down the road, you won't see it. It's sort of a little off the beaten path, and it's a very supposedly haunted home. Mary Roth and that. Well, go ahead, Tim. Tell us a little bit about that. Why should I tell the story?
So Mary Roth, this dates back to around 1865. She would experience cataleptic fits, and she would tell her family at a very young age that she could speak to spirits. And she could also read any book while blindfolded, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Sort of Braille in reverse, huh?
Kind of, yeah. She eventually was sent to an asylum where she later died at age 19. She passed away in 1865. 13 years later, Laurency Venom experienced the same fits that Mary Roth had, and she would also refer to herself as other people, one of which wound up being Mary Roth. And eventually she just stuck to, I am Mary Roth. Wanted to go home and moved back into the house alongside Mary Roth's parents. And at a point she eventually had spoke to the parents and said, you know, Laurency's in heaven right now, she's healing, but she'll be back soon. And she left soon after and never was spotted again. Mary wasn't spotted again, but
just vanished off the face of the earth.
Yeah. And Laurency lived a long life. She passed at 90.
So Mary Roth died 19 years old. Laurency Venom, Rancy as they called her, they nicknamed her Rancy, they called her. What a name, Rancy Venom. Isn't it? Rancy Venom. Hey, Rancy, how you doing? I just can't, I don't know, something about that name. You know, I don't know what it is. It's not like a nice name, you know.
It sounds like a villain.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah, it'd be a good villain's name. Yeah, like a Disney villain or something. Rancy Venom, you know, Rancy Venom, yeah. So she lived to be 90. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I haven't really done some of the research that I've done into the case, and that it's a little, I'm a little this way, that way about it. I like to pick things apart, and I'm thinking that I'm not exactly sure if it was a demon possession. Certainly there was something going on there, but it may have been a case of schizophrenia. Also, it could be a mental illness. Mid-19th century, like that, 1860s, a lot was not really known about mental illness too much at that time. How much work they did with, of course, psychiatry, and that would follow some years later. They would get into that a little more and find out a little bit more what's going on with your mind and help people out with that. But at that time, there wasn't a whole lot of treatment for people for mental illnesses. Pretty much you were locked away, and that was about it. Yeah, that was kind of it. So in her case, though, she also had catalepsy. And catalepsy is somewhat of a strange illness, too, so that may have contributed to things, too. So, very possibly it could have been. But it's just coincidental that both women had the same thing.
Yep.
Both women had the exact same illness. Both were cataleptic. Yeah. Catalepsy, too, also, like we talked a little bit about that in the beginning before we were doing the show, I brought up the fact that catalepsy used to be very closely associated with vampirism. Because people that would go into a cataleptic state, your body has like no pulse, no heartbeat. It's very hard to detect, no breath. Very often in years past before they did embalming, one of the last ways they would test to see if the person was really dead was stick a mirror in front of their mouth, by their nose. And if they could detect any breath on the mirror, they say, okay, the person's dead. A lot of times they weren't right, though, and some people were buried alive. And that happened to many people with catalepsy. A person would be buried alive, and if they were fortunate/unfortunate to maybe have been found out before they were actually put into the ground, they would hear someone pounding on the inside of the coffin or whatever. They would open the coffin up and say, oh my gosh, this person is still alive. Next thing you know, the person's coming out of their cataleptic trance, and the blood rushes really quickly through the body, and often it would come through their nose and through their mouth, and they'd say, oh my gosh, they're a vampire. They've been feeding on blood of the living, and then, boom, they would kill them. So you're like, damned if you did and damned if you didn't. Yeah, they rescued you from being buried alive, but then they drove a stake through your heart or put a brick in your mouth. That's how they also kill vampires, too. A lot of people don't know about that one. Put a brick in their mouth.
Really?
Keep them from coming out of their graves, yeah. Yeah. That and put runestones on the grave, too. You keep the vampire in his grave. Keep him from coming out. So, yeah, so it's that way. So, like I said, I haven't really done a lot of the research into that to exactly find out what's what with that. But, yeah, the Roth House. Now, you spent some time in the Roth House.
Yep.
Roth House. Yeah.
The Roth House is actually on Airbnb. It's listed in Watseka, Illinois. I think its title is like the 1865 Victorian house.
Yeah.
My friend was familiar with it being with the history of it because of his dad living just down the block. So we decided to rent it for 2 nights, and we went into the basement.
Oh, you rented the house?
Yep.
Wow.
We stayed overnight for 2 nights, and we went down with a spirit box, and
sure.
I initiated the conversation, and we made small contacts. Like, we had a couple responses coming from the spirit box, and I handed it over to my friend Alan, and Alan, as soon as it got into his hands, the box said November, and Alan just looked shocked, and he's like, guys, I was born in November. So he got rid of the box, handed it over to my friend Steph, and then Steph said, as soon as it got into her hand, it said prayer, and she had a fanny pack full of crystals, gems, and stuff protecting her. Her family's very religious, so she was like, if you're going to that house, you're not coming back unless you have gems on you the entire time. So she got freaked out, and she handed it over to our other friend, and she's like, no, I'm not touching that thing. I'm okay just being here. So she handed it back to me, and then it said shoes, and I'm like, all right. Well, the rumor is that Mary Roth helped her parents build this house. So I'm like, Mary, I understand if you're upset with me. I haven't taken my shoes off at all this entire time, but it's an old house. I don't want to take my shoes off.
Yeah.
And
some splinters in the floorboards or something, Yeah. Yeah.
Earlier on in the day, my friend's sister, who was also in the basement with us, had called me a geek the entire day. And we had 4 responses from the spirit box. It was, object yourself, Agent Geek. So she called me a geek, coherent to the conversation that we had earlier, and we were like, yeah, we should get out of here. The next thing the spirit box said was threat, and we went right upstairs. Just ended it off.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you got some good results with your box, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
9 out of 10 times, I have to admit, I don't know, I'm a little old-fashioned with my paranormal investigating. I would much rather work with a good medium. Not a bad medium, not a so-so medium. Seems like those are the ones you're running into more often than a very good medium, because the medium can really pick up on things, and they're very clear about what they have. It's not just a death, November. You hear a lot of, like somebody playing around with the radio dial and that kind of thing like that, And one of my questions always is, now you seem to have gotten some good results with it, is I always say, well, now if these entities are taking the trouble to come back from the other realm to talk to us or communicate with us, why aren't they doing it in a way that we're capable of understanding it? Why does it have to be in this coded, stuff? And then some of the investigators I know actually even go and play them backwards. I'm like, oh my gosh, we used to do this with Beatles records when we were kids, I'm like, how far do you want to go with this? If it's not saying anything this way, if you want to play around with it, you can almost get it to say anything you want to. But it's nice to know that, because sometimes you do get good results. I don't blow them off entirely, but like I said, I myself would much rather work with a very good medium and go into something like that, and they can really pick up on a lot of things and get a lot of stuff like that. So, that'd be interesting to do. Yeah, good. But you didn't seem to be having too bad of a time. So now you don't want to go back to the Roth House again?
I don't plan on it, no.
No.
I actually, for a good couple weeks after, had nightmares, just a reoccurring nightmare. I slept in, I want to say it was Lorancie's bedroom, which she was the one that was possessed by Mary. So I had this reoccurring dream where I woke up in the bed, and I went straight downstairs into the cellar where we had talked to the spirits, and then I shot out the cellar door. And it was just the same dream every single night for months. It was weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Over and over and over. A repetitive dream. There's something to that, yeah. And a flying dream yet, too.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that. I don't do enough. I don't know enough about dream interpretations to tell you exactly what that meant.
Yeah, I just know it steered me away from going back to that house.
Okay, Sarah, what about you? Did you end up doing this too, or no? You weren't by the Roth House. No, that's not your thing. No.
The only thing that I've experienced, I guess, was with Bachelor's Grove.
Oh, who hasn't? Jeez.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But,
every time I go to Bachelor's Grove, something.
Yeah. But nothing bad, which was the weird part. I was actually with him and 2 other people, and I forgot what time it was. It was late at night, maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night.
You're not supposed to go in there after dark.
I didn't say anything. But we went in there, and, I never, ever thought about, let me go in a cemetery. I never thought about doing it. So I was like, okay, I'll face my fears, whatever. And I expected the worst thing to happen. So my anxiety was kind of bad. And as soon as we got to the gate, I was like, okay, this is fine. And then we walked in. We said something before we walked in. And then everybody, including my friend Ava, she was like, I don't feel good about this. I feel really weird and a negative energy. I never felt that. I kind of felt like someone was surrounding me with a barrier of protection.
Oh, that's a good thing.
And it was weird because everyone around me is freaking out. I'm just chilling, walking in the cemetery, and they're like, be careful of this grave, be careful of that, don't say this, don't say that, don't do that. And I'm just standing here. This is weird that I feel calm.
I've never really been afraid of the dead. I've been more afraid of the living. I really have,
sure.
Honestly. Yeah, for certain. Especially in Bachelor's Grove. If you're going to be there after hours, I'm not too afraid of the spirits that are supposedly inhabiting that cemetery. I'm more afraid of the people that inhabit it, because there's a lot of troublesome things that kind of go on there and that. Yeah.
But and it's I told a different story to multiple people. It's I have this, I wouldn't say angel or anything, but it's say I'm at a party and all of a sudden something comes over me where it's almost a voice where it's you should leave. You need to leave.
I'll say so. Your little
I don't even know.
Your guardian angel telling you to get out of there. Yeah, looking out for you. Yeah.
I leave, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, a fight happened or a gun threat," and I'm just
there was some reason for you
heck?
not to be there. Yeah,
and it's I'm not complaining about it at all, but it's kind of cool to tell people that.
It took me a long time to be able to trust my feelings and my intuitions that way, and then when I started doing it, and I said to myself, 9 out of 10 times I'm right. So why aren't I listening to my inner voices? Yeah. When you get those feelings that tell you to do something or not to do it, go with it.
Right.
And I always tell this to people. I says, really, honestly, listen to your inner voices. If your head's telling you to do one thing, your heart's telling you, go with it. Somebody else may be telling you yes, but if you're inclined to say no, go with your own feelings. Yeah. And you'll see 9 out of 10 times it's something that you exercise and becomes more strong with you as time goes on, and you develop it more.
Yeah.
You probably have a lot of psychic abilities you're not aware of.
Probably.
You probably do. Yeah, it sounds like it. Just what you told me right there. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That you have some psychic ability and
you
things.
need to come out to this. No.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Don't you love these people that own these businesses? They never fail to put in a plug for
No, this is not. This is actually not mine.
I don't care what we could be talking about church. Oh, here you go. Come and have your tarot card reading done. No, I'm kidding you. Of course, that's why she's here. She's here we brought her on to talk about her wonderful store and all that stuff. Yeah.
But that actually is not something I am in charge of. It's one I go to, but there's a lot of where a lot of women that have those intuitive vibes in them.
Oh yeah.
And they and there's a lot of them will help you.
Yeah.
Where because you already know there's something in you, but you don't know how to
control it.
Yeah, work with it or use it even to just tap into it. Yeah. So there's a lot of out there. So that's.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's there. Yeah. You start learning to tap into this stuff for yourself, though, too.
Yeah.
Some of this can be taught. I don't know about that. Some people say they can teach these things. I don't know. I think you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
That's why I look
right.
Same thing too with a mediumship. I believe you're a medium. You have it or you don't.
Right.
The people that think they're being taught to be medium, those are the mediums that are not so good. You've got the gift for it or you don't. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that someone can teach you to do.
Right. Oh, for sure. I think it's there already in you. Yeah.
Now, some people don't develop it. Now, I do that often. It's no secret that I do palm readings. And very often when I'm doing a palm reading for somebody, I could see that they have some abilities, some of the things in their hand tell me that. Mm-hmm. And I could see, and I says, you know, you got to start listening to your inner voices. And I says, I bet you 9 out of 10 times when you listen to what other people are telling you, you say, see, I should have did it what I wanted. It would have turned out right, but I listened to them. She says, you know, that's right. I get that a lot from people. I says, really start listening. Nobody knows you better than you know yourself.
Right.
You know, listen to those voices and listen to those things that are telling you, you know, you're being told these things for a reason, you know. Yeah. Carrie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, what have you got to talk about here? You came on here and brought us wonderful coffee mugs from the store here. I got a Michael Myers cup, and we had all kind of wonderful things here, and candy and all sorts of wonderful stuff that she brought, which was really nice. I actually had Michael Myers cookies, too.
Yeah, those are actually Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein.
Oh, I thought it was Mike Myers.
No, I do have some Michael Myers ones. I don't know if I have any ones here with me today.
Oh, okay.
I think they're all the old Universal monsters.
Frankenstein.
Yeah. So I have a shop I opened up in Crestwood, Illinois.
Yes.
And it's called Moonlight Bean. We've been doing art markets and stuff like that for probably about 5 years.
Yeah.
And this location opened up, and we just jumped in on it. So we do private events there. Everything in there is handmade.
Yeah.
About 90%. I also feature other local artists, crafters that
when you look at
put their stuff in.
the pictures and stuff that I've seen online of the store and all that, it's very impressive looking. And then when you go in there and see it, it's like you're surprised to see that it's smaller. I mean, when you look in the photo, it looks really. I mean, it is a nice store. I shouldn't say it that way because I was going to say, well, when you see it, it's actually much smaller, but it's really not. It's very nicely laid out, and it's also set up very friendly too. Yeah, very friendly. Like you want people to stay in that store.
Yeah. I have my my little lounge area, which my husband was kind of against at first. He's like, it's going to take up too much sales space. I go, look, I wanted our shop to be, of course, I want you to buy my stuff.
Yeah.
But I also wanted it to be for people to come in and hang out and chat about what we were just chatting about. We'll have to get back to that. Me and her have been to the Rolf House also, and it was great for us.
Bachelor's Grove.
And we'll go back there.
Oh, Bachelor's Grove, yeah, geez, yeah.
But and so I told him I wanted and I've always wanted my purple furniture. So I have my purple furniture lounge area where people can hang out, and I've met a lot of interesting people over the years.
Oh, yes, you do.
Going from here to here to here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That now they're coming out to the shop. And I'll have people that will come, they'll drive an hour or two, so they're hanging out with us,
Now, you were Saturday over at the, what were they calling it? That Kylie O'Connell ran over there at the Bridgeview Park District.
Valentine's Day
Massacre, yeah, they had a little thing there. I didn't know they were doing that. Friday night, I was doing palm readings at Irish Legends, and Jack Chavez, who follows everybody everywhere, he's all over the place. He always stops by.
Yeah, I seen him again yesterday.
Yeah, and he was, that's it. He's all over. Yeah, I don't know how he does it, but he gets around everywhere. He doesn't miss anything. And he stopped by, and I was like seeing Jack, and we were talking. He said, they're having this thing tomorrow. And I said, well, I'll stop by there because I do my senior citizens job at McDonald's 2 days a week. And I says, good. Saturday, after I finish working at McDonald's at 2, I'll stop by the thing over there just to see what's going on in it. And they charged, I think it was like a $10 admission for folks to get in. And I thought about it myself. After I got in there, I didn't even know you had to pay. I walked in. And nobody asked me to pay the 10, so I just walked in. I went around and was looking at things and everything and all that. And I thought about it after I was down there, and I says, I don't care what anybody says, but for me to pay $10 to go into an auditorium filled with a bunch of people all dressed in black with black nail polish on is just way too much money.
So here now that
everybody looked the same.
Yeah, that event.
It was cool though. It was nice.
It is.
It's nice.
That actually was run by the Hardcore Hearse Club. And I've done several of theirs over the years, and they usually do them out of Lombard at the Brower House, and it's a very different venue than the Park District. Yeah. So this was new to her, that area, because kudos again, and thank you, Bridgeview and Kylie.
Yeah, Kylie does a nice job with those things. Yeah, she's a good organizer.
She works there at like their event planner and stuff. But she convinced them to have it because, a lot of park districts would have turned something down like that because of it being the paranormal or the creepy. They had a lot of, like the Hardcore Hearse Club, a lot of her stuff she does is all taxidermy. So, the norm wouldn't let you. She had a hard time sometimes finding places that will let her do that.
Yeah, it's.
She did run a lot of ticket prices though, like sales.
Yeah.
A lot of people, if you prepaid, you got in half.
Yeah, you got in for $5 and that. Yeah, no, I was just kidding about that. Yeah,
but she always has a great show. It's a lot of fun, and I always meet a lot of people there. But Kylie's got some things planned.
Oh yes, I know. I got an appointment with her next week Wednesday. I'm going to be talking with Kylie. Yeah.
And they did things. They come out like for the Hearst Club when we did we're coming up again now in May. Our shop will be there a year. We opened up last May, and I've known Darlene, who does the Hearst Club, for a few years now, and she's got like 7-8 hearses, and they're cool looking. They're just
you can never have too many of them.
Hearses. No,
you never know when you're going to need one.
A lot of them are decked out. They're old. They're the antique hearses and stuff. So I kept saying, I really would like one of your hearses to show, for one of my events at our shop. And she's like, oh yeah, I'll get to, well, she travels and does a lot of oddity shows like around the state. So she's not in town a lot. So finally at my October one, we did a big Halloween event, market outside, and somebody all of a sudden, she didn't tell me about it or not, and somebody says, hey, there's a hearse driving through the parking lot. I was like, oh, yes. So she left it for me for the whole day, parked it outside, and had left it for us just to enjoy. So it was awesome because a lot of people enjoyed taking pictures of it. They got to get it. Well, we didn't know this till later, because I didn't want nobody touching it, but we could have taken pictures inside of it, so we did that later. But we are going to have her at some more of our stuff. Yeah.
We had a hearse out at Midnight Terror for a long time too. They had a hearse parked out there too.
Well, now it's funny you say that. I was at Midnight Terror with Bob. Well, not with you, but that's where I met you at.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had a small booth set up at the market at the end when you came out. And so did Darlene, the Hearst Club. They had a big there. She was not there. One of the girls there, Barbie, helps her organize. Like they came and set up, and Barbie kind of watched her stuff. And,
just in case you're wondering where Carrie's store is, since she neglected to tell everyone, it's 5561 West 127th Street in Crestwood, Illinois. It's actually not too far from where I live. It's a stone's throw from my house, and probably very close to you, too, Tim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 5561 West 127th Street, Crestwood, Illinois. Moonlight Bean, Curiosity, and Monster Shop. Ha ha. Strange and unusual gifts for the strange and the unusual. So if you're normal, don't go in there. You got to be strange and you got to be unusual, or you just won't get it. You won't get it. Yeah.
It's and it's funny because like a lot of people in the area were like afraid to walk in. Like the area right there is very.
I would always be curious.
Yeah, well,
I would always,
So that area right there, because we've lived in Crestwood for 20 years now, so we knew that plaza was very busy.
Sure.
There's a bar there that is very well known, the Thirsty Beaver. They have live music. They draw a very big crowd.
The Thirsty. I can't say nothing.
Yeah, the Thirsty Beaver.
You're right. Boy, a few jokes just came right to my head, but I can't. But for the life of me, I just can't say any of them over the radio.
You know what? They're really fantastic. They are. They're big supporters of us. Big supporters. So we've done a few things. Like we went in there for their Christmas party, as my husband went as the Grinch, and they had a band in there that was Motley 2, and the Grinch danced a little along with, the Vince Neil. So it was a lot of fun. They are really a great.
Good. That's always nice when the neighbors work with each other and that kind of thing. It's great.
And
that's
then
nice.
Next to us, there's a gambling place. And Joker's Wild. You could pretty much have
Where
dinner
aren't
there.
they? I think Dunkin' Donuts has
your
slot machines now. They all got gambling now. Yeah.
But a lot of the older guys wouldn't even look at our shop. They were like, finally,
they're busy making money on the slot machines.
But they were like,
put a couple of slot machines in this Moonlight Bean, and you'll be fighting them off. I tell you.
Well,
put a couple of they had the Addams Family slot when you go to the casinos and that.
We have one at home. Not an Addams Family one, the Universal
and the Monsters one and the Universal. Get those in that shop.
I keep telling my husband that I think he's afraid to move it because it's very old.
I think the Illinois law allows you 5 machines. You could have 5
I don't know if I want to do that. No, but, I know the money, but I just like the idea of come hang out.
Yeah, it's nice.
And now we started crafts nights. So we did do a couple bachelorette parties where the girls came in. I had a tarot reader for them. That's why I'm hoping to work with you with the palm
absolutely.
reading.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I've never met a palm reader. I met a lot of tarot readers over the last
it's
couple
something.
years.
It is. I was just talking about that. It's something I really never realized. But you do find like tarot card readers like a dime a dozen. There's many tarot readers. Palmistry, not that much.
No,
I just don't know
I've
why.
been to a lot.
I don't know why. You just don't see them.
Yeah, when I was like, wait, he's right here, palm reader?
Yeah, I just don't.
And I enjoy just listening to you.
I enjoy doing it. Yeah, I enjoy doing it. So it's my little thing that I like to do. Yeah, I like doing palmistry. Yeah, it's everybody has their niche.
Yeah.
Tarot. I do have a few tarot decks. Now I do one that I work like with. Of course, when you're doing like at Midnight Tarot, when the busy Halloween season, you're doing production line readings. You got a line of people. You're not doing it. So you're really doing them quite quickly in that, and you give them a lot of information. I make sure I do a good job on everybody. I want everybody to get the full thing out of it in that. And some people I do like the 3-card tarot read because of course you can't do a whole spread.
I have some of those.
And then we're working outside. You're in a tent outside, and a lot of times the weather isn't cooperating with us, as you know from the Christmas. Sometimes it's cold, it's raining, it's this, it's that. So we get the elements that we're fighting with doing that. But we've got some ideas. I'm going to be getting together with Colin pretty soon.
Yeah, he wants to do something with us too.
Yeah, we're working on a couple of ideas with him too.
I liked they had the axe throwing, and I think,
the axe throwing. Yeah,
I don't know.
It scares the death out of me.
Yeah.
That axe throwing, I'm always frightened of it because I'm always afraid someone's going to take the axe, go to throw it, and it's going to slip out of their hand. And because one time one axe did like go up over the top of the thing, over the top of the little stand, and it went like on the other side. And I'm always afraid someone's going to slip and throw it back and just accidentally hit somebody with it back there or something, and they always make me a little nervous.
I did like the way they had it. I don't know a lot. I'm not experienced in axe throwing. Never did it myself, but I did like the way they had it set.
People enjoy doing
set
it,
up at the Midnight Terror because if it went behind, there was nothing behind it, so there was no people.
Yeah.
But then they also had that dead. What was that? That dead hang or something? That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it was
got a lot of little
cold
stuff
out
like
though,
that.
so people didn't do it. It was cold.
Well, you weren't with us
I'm
for the
hoping-
Halloween season. We
were busy
mobbed.
doing our own Halloween.
Oh God, we were mobbed over there for Halloween. Yeah,
because besides our shop, we live 3 minutes away from our shop, and we've been doing a home haunt for 20 years. So like it's a whole big haunted house that we built onto the side of our house.
Okay.
So for the neighborhood, but it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So like
it
my
always does.
family
Once you start, you
enjoys
add
it.
more to it. You add more.
We didn't take it down this last 2 years. During COVID, we're like, hell, we're leaving it open. We're going to keep Halloween all year round. So we're hoping to utilize it more with our shop.
Let's hear from Lisa. So far, you're the only person here we haven't heard anything from.
Hi.
Well, that's it.
I'm actually, I was originally just a tag along, but since we're talking about plugs, I guess I'll throw my business.
Go ahead.
My best friend and I, we have an estate sale company. Everybody, it's all family owned. We're all girls. I have 2 daughters. They help, so it's all women. And I literally could add on to every single thing that somebody said, like you were saying about the estate planning. And it just, when you were talking, I was just thinking people should also remember to be careful what they leave behind. If you are going to be embarrassed, like of, your niece coming across certain things, get rid of them ahead of time, because then we come across them, or your family does.
I don't know. All of a sudden, all these things came into my head that you would be embarrassed.
That you also can't say over the radio.
No, you can't say over the radio.
Oh, I think I died.
No, we can hear
No,
you.
you're fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
we
can't
can
hear
hear-
me. I can't hear anything.
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Well, we can hear you.
Okay. But I'm always breaking stuff.
You're okay. No, we hear you fine. You're okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's so weird because I've been able to hear, and now all of a sudden it's throwing me off. But yeah, we go in there and we take everything out and research everything. So we deal with our company is all about vintage. We have a website. It's just allaboutvintage.com.
Yeah,
I do the Facebook. So if you go on there, you were talking about Black History. I've been trying to do Black History things every single day, and it's amazing. The Chicago roots.
Oh, yes.
With so many of the stories. And I'm very for girl power, so I've been trying to do a lot more women and showcasing women who were put down because they were women and show that they accomplished great things. But
well, if you were a woman, now women, of course, for a long time had it tough, but if you were a black woman, it was doubly tough.
Yes.
Doubly. You know, as hard as women had it, black women had it even tougher. I mean, you were very limited to what you could, but yet a lot of them did break that mold and accomplish great things. And boy, you got to give them credit.
Yeah,
you really do.
That
they're very determined people. Yeah.
One of my day posts was about Bessie Coleman.
Oh yes,
and she was the first pilot. She beat Amelia Earhart by 2 years. She was the first black and Native American to ever get a pilot's license, and she started basically because she was like, she heard all these pilot stories, and then so many. She was in Chicago, and all these Chicago, Illinois aviation centers and classes she couldn't take. They kept rejecting her because she was not only a woman but also a black woman. Yeah. So she went to France and became a pilot, and unfortunately she died.
Bessie Coleman also owned the first black-owned airport in Robbins. Her and another, I think, with the man she went in on that one. They owned the first black-owned airport in Robbins, Illinois. Robbins.
Yeah,
not too far from us, Tim. Right over there in Robbins,
where
we're at. Yeah, not too far. Yeah. One of the things I liked about researching when I did the whole thing on the black deaths and that, it was easier to research than I ever thought. It was probably the easiest thing I did because, number one, they were so limited to where black people could be buried because of Jim Crow.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are right there where we're at in Elsip and Worth there in Lincoln Cemetery and in Baroque Cemetery. And you have just the common everyday people that are buried there, as well as Dinah Washington, the blues singer. You've got the Negro League baseball players there. Emmett Till, Mamie Till. They're all, so many people are all buried in there. You know, celebrities, movie stars, blues, people. Bessie Coleman is over in Lincoln Cemetery. She's buried over there. Oh gosh, his name escapes me. The man that started the Chicago Defender, the black-owned newspaper, he's over in the Lincoln Cemetery there, and I forget his name.
He's actually the one who gave Bessie Coleman the scholarship to go to France.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Now, many black performers back in the day couldn't make it in this country. They couldn't make it. They couldn't get into showbiz. They couldn't get into it here in this country. But a lot of them went to Europe, particularly in France, and in the Cafe Society there in France, and they were sensations. And they were very well. They had big careers in Europe and that, and then they came back here, and then they were kind of accepted into the world here in the States. Yeah. I get into the opera, and I'm actually doing a whole thing on opera stars here and that. And two that I researched, Sister Etta Jones, who nobody knows who she was, and Marian Anderson. There's going to be a program, I think, on Friday night on Marian Anderson at 9 o'clock about Marian Anderson. She was the first one she sang at the Lincoln Memorial opera singer, Marian Anderson. Yeah. Very tough, real tough. And there again, she went to Europe. She learned German because she was singing opera, and she wanted to know what the words meant. Yeah. Singing something in Italian, I want to know. So she really did very well for herself.
Yeah, it's been
at a time when roles were very, very limited for black women in the opera. Very, very limited. Yeah.
I've been enjoying. I'm a researcher. I love researching.
Oh yes,
that's a part of my job. Is we come across random things, and a majority is
now estate sales. I know many people that don't like that because antiques maybe are one and the same, but many people don't like that. That's dead people stuff. I don't want that. They're bringing somebody else's.
We actually, we get that a lot. There'll be people that will pull us on the side and be like, "Did this person die?"
Well, of course.
And I look at it like this:
if they were living, would we be selling their furniture?
Well, we do.
They might want to still sit on the couch.
We do also do like downsizing and moving and stuff. My whole thing is because a lot of people will get freaked out about it. But if you go to the thrift store, a lot of the stuff there that the clothes, it's donated from people who've passed. But the whole thing is this is something they loved and cherished. If you're turning around and you're going to love and cherish it, it's like giving it new life. It's helping it carry on. It's and those people who passed, they would appreciate it. What bothers me most is when people come in and it's just kind of sad because people will be like, wow, this is garbage or something. It's like, this person loved this thing and you're downing it. It's like, if there's hauntings, I want you to be haunted by them or something, Mirrors
on dressers. Very good for hauntings. We'll talk about it someday.
Yes.
what the heck was the man's name? Al Commuta? Mr. Commuta, for lack of not knowing his first name. One of the things that prompted him to form the Titanic Historical Society, because Frederick Fleet, who happened to be the lookout on the Titanic, who saw the iceberg, and that, in 1967 he committed suicide. He hung himself and killed himself. And his Titanic things that he had, like buttons from his uniform and a menu that in his pocket and keys from the ship and that, in the dumpster. They threw it all out.
Wow.
And he caught wind of this. He says, wait a minute. This is relics from the Titanic. This is like one of the greatest, sea stories and disasters, and 1,500 people lost their lives about this, and this just goes unceremoniously into a dumpster? No, this isn't right. So he started the Titanic Historical Society just for that reason alone. It was something that really caught his attention. And then I think they actually did collect the money and put a stone on his grave for Frederick Fleet.
See, and that's why I love my job, because I want to preserve that kind of stuff and save it from going into the dumpster.
Oh, now let's be honest. You want to make money at this. No. That's what you're doing.
Well, actually...
Come on, nobody does this,
Well...
I'm doing this for the preservation. Come on.
No, I can say honestly...
No, I'm kidding you.
No, I can say...
No, I know you have a feeling for it, of course.
No, I love what I do. This is the first job that I've ever had that it's like, yes, I'm tired and, it's draining.
But it's a labor of love. If it's something you like doing, it's really not a labor. It's a labor of love.
Yes, I love it.
But I want to say, with her, I've known her my whole life, but when she first started with her friend doing this, too, is some of the houses they're going, like you've had a couple houses, too, that, like, bad vibes in there, or the energy's just bad, and it drains her. Like for the week, she's done.
I've had that with restaurants. There's been certain establishments I've gone in, and I says, I just don't like this place. I've gotten a bad.
But then she goes and researches, and she's got some stories of some of the breach.
Well, and that's the thing is, like,
there again, trusting your hunches.
Yeah.
Well, listening to those inner voices.
I had
right, Eileen?
Absolutely.
I had a customer a while ago who came in, and he does a lot. You were talking about how you feel protected and maybe being able to tap into things. So I had this customer who came in, he from the Philippines, and very spiritual. And he was like, and my best friend, she senses things all the time, and houses don't like her. Bad stuff happens to her all the time, and they are always nice to me, but I always say, because I'm like the happy, bubbly one, and I'm very positive. But this guy came in, and he was like, you have the gift. And I was like, me? And my friend's like, well, what about me? He's like, no, you can sense things, but she has the gift. And I actually have a story, but I'll wait, because now I feel like I've been talking too much.
I want to know what the gift was.
But the gift. I haven't been able to tap into it, but I can see things, sense things, feel things, all that. And I have
then you are tapping into it. Maybe you're not realizing it yourself.
She's not enough. Yeah, that's why I keep getting...
As you start exercising it more and more, as you start exercising it more and more and trusting your feelings on it, you're going to see it's going to become stronger and stronger and stronger, and you're going to get so good at it, you don't even realize you're doing it yourself.
Well, doing these houses, it's just, there's certain houses where you go in and you feel nothing and whatever. But just over time, it's like, I've tapped into it a little bit more, where I, definitely can sense more. And we've definitely had our share of some very scary houses and whatever. But
buildings have a history, I tell you. No one knows what has gone on,
Yeah. Well, then you're going through somebody's personal things,
of course.
Too.
Sure.
I mean, very, like you said.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we're going
have that person in your life that... My daughter and her friend have that. They're in their 20s, but they're like, if I die, I got to go to her house and get certain things out of there before.
Wipe my browser history. Go in this part and grab that. Yeah.
My mother, this is many years ago, because mom's been gone 30. My mother would have been 21. Last year she would have been 100 in December. But she's still alive, of course, but she's gone. And she's been gone many years. And I remember when she passed away, she had a favorite ring. And I'm sure everybody has some kind of story like this. She had this favorite emerald ring with little diamonds in it that she always wore. She always wore this ring. So naturally, when she was laid out for the visitation and the wake and everything, my brother and I wanted her to have that ring on. That was her favorite ring. We could not find this ring for any, and it says this had to be something she didn't put away, because it was something she used all the time. So it had to be like in a box on the dresser or somewhere. We're looking, couldn't find this thing anywhere. Of course, the funeral was all over, everything was said and done, and Mom is in her crypt and everything. Open up a little box, and there's the darn ring. I said, right in front. So for whatever reason, she didn't want to wear that ring. She wanted to wear something else, which we did have something else for her. Yeah. But for some reason, she didn't want to wear that. Maybe she felt, well, that's my everyday ring. This is something special. I'm only doing this once.
Exactly.
I want to wear something else.
Exactly.
So, I'm sure everybody has some story like that. We all do. Especially many people, their first experiences with paranormal are through loved ones.
Oh, for sure.
So, no doubt about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For many folks, yeah.
I had an interesting observation on the things, the stuff, the estate sale, Lisa. And I do think you must, so often I'm thinking about my clients and their stories, and I've done many deathbed wills, and absolutely some people do leave it until the end. And I've noticed something generationally about our things, our stuff, our bits, our pieces, our jewelry. Generationally, the generation who wanted to have things, maybe, what do they call it, poverty mentality, the depression
era, yeah.
So the collections were really important, and the Yadro and the Waterford and the wedding china. It was so meaningful, and who would get it?
Yes.
Whereas now the children, so let's say the children are in their
Not
50s.
even interested in it.
Minimalists.
The minimalists versus
mentality.
the collectors.
Yeah.
And the collectors look at their houses and they just think they're just so bare and empty and cold. And they look at grandma's house and think, it's cluttered.
Yes.
This is awful.
We hear that all the time, actually. When the younger relatives come in, it's like, oh my gosh, grandma was a hoarder and stuff. And it's like, it's a collection, but compared to now, like, kids don't want to hold on to anything.
No, they don't want that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle has changed too. No longer do people have formal dinners and that type of thing. I mean, some people still do, but by and large, it's not. Once upon a time, everybody did this. So who needs fancy china now and all these things? We just don't.
But Bob, I think it's related to the electronic age and electronic storage. So we would have had photographs and collections of photographs and printed out our vacation pictures, whereas now, well, everybody, but your generation, Sarah, you've always probably had the electronic pictures or most of your life. So because you can have so much in one place and access it so easily, that I think that has kind of done away with the physical object.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Very much so. European people, again, are not so materialistic as the Americans are. They're really not. What's important to the Europeans are get-togethers, having nice dinner, enjoying each other's company. That's what's important. Not having the big house and having the big car and all that, because they've gone through 2 world wars where they've lost everything. Those things aren't important. Family and quality time and that's something that's very important. It really is. So they're here we're much more materialistic, but everybody's different.
An observation that I've had, and it depends a lot too on affluence, because no matter what country in the world it is, the more money we have, the less the family lives together. You tend to come away from some of those things. But getting back to storytelling, I think the less that a community had, they had to kind of go deep and stay within, whereas the more we had, we kind of went very wide and narrow. So I think that's how you come away from the depth and the stories and the poetry, because there was so much that you could access. You never had time to go deep on anything. And I think that I don't think you can separate it by continent. I think money has a lot to do with us coming away from the storytelling, the oral tradition, and the depth.
Well, many people aren't aware of it unless you've done a little bit with the Bible and that. But for many, many years, the Hebrew people Bible wasn't written down. It was all orally translated up until they were in captivity in Babylon, which the Babylonians took all the cream of the crop of the people. They took the learned they took the scholars, all the field workers and everything. Yeah, stay where you're at. We don't want you. They wanted all the learned people. And when they were held in captivity in Babylon, that's when they started writing down the scrolls and the Bible and all this. But up until then, it was all orally translated, or orally passed on from person to person. Right. So can you imagine the first 5 books of the Bible being translated orally? Yeah, but that's how it was done. Yeah, so oral has a lot to do with it. The only thing with oral too, it leaves a lot of things open too, because stories change over time. Unless you're very, very strict about it, and it's taught really precise, and you remember this like a script for a play. People have a way of changing things.
Well, the telephone game. The
Yeah.
more goes down.
Yeah.
Things change.
Yeah. How many times have we all heard a rumor or something like that, and by the time it gets around, it's not even the same story? And
Yeah.
there's so many of the paranormal stories, for instance.
Yeah.
That way.
Oh,
I
yeah,
can't
for
believe
sure.
some of the things I hear about the Resurrection Mary story and some of the Bachelor's Grove stories.
Yeah.
And how some of them are so twisted around. It's not even the original story.
Yeah.
They're so very different from what they actually were. Yeah.
I was going to say, actually, I was just talking to two of the teachers at the school I work at about Resurrection Mary, and one of them was saying, 6 different stories involving her, and I said the initial, urban legend that everyone knows, and he's like, yeah, I've heard that one too. So many different ways that people spread it around, yeah.
The funeral director, George Sobius, that did the funeral for Anna Norcus, one of the Resurrection Marys, his daughter was my first grade grammar school teacher.
Wow.
Yeah. She contacted me about 2 years ago. About two, 3 years. She's passed away since, but I'm glad she contacted me before. And she contacted me. Her name was Hetty McMahon, and I thought, who in the heck is Hetty McMahon? And she says, Bobby, when you lived in Summit, did you go to St. Blaise Grammar School? I says, yeah, I did for 5 years. She says, I was your first grade grammar school teacher. And I thought, I don't know. And then I thought, well, maybe she was a nun and she left the convent to marry or something or that. But then I looked it up, and I says, you were Miss Sobius. Now I know, because my mother saved all the old report cards when I was a kid. And son of a gun, there was Miss Sobius, my first grade grammar school teacher. So she had all the records and everything. Her father kept everything. And son of a gun, on the back of all those file cards and everything, he wrote Resurrection Mary.
Wow.
Yeah, he said he buried Resurrection Mary. Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of them. Someday we'll talk about it. Resurrection Mary, I got to file.
Yeah,
I got 33. Well, I've added another one recently. 34 different witnesses that claim to have some sort of an encounter with the entity of Resurrection
Yeah, and
Mary.
this summer there's going to be at that Chet's Melody Lounge that they're doing another Resurrection Mary thing event. There, it's the Graveside Paranormal, and they're going to do it. So you'll have to look out for that.
Oh yeah.
I did one a couple years ago. It was a lot of fun. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a neat story. That was like one of the first stories I heard growing up as a kid. And when I was a kid, there were so many people around that remembered when they were alive.
I grew up in Burbank.
Yeah.
So we're right there, by it. And so, as a teenager, that's where, we were always trying to sneak in there or, something.
I lived on 63rd in Harlem for 58 years. And actually, that was right where the Norcus car fell, and she was killed right there, actually. And Anitahood, my brother, 100 years ago, one of his first jobs he got as a kid was he was a busboy at the Willowbrook Ballroom. So we would, Friday and Saturday nights, he finished his shift about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So my mom and I, we'd get in the car and we'd drive down Archer Road past Resurrection, and we'd go down there and pick him up. And I'd always look to see, and I never saw anything even remotely close.
Yeah, we
Nothing.
were there a lot growing up. I never did myself. Now,
and in those days, it used to be pretty dark over there too. It wasn't really well lit at all.
It still is fairly dark over
It
there.
is, yeah.
Well, it's a lot more lit up than it was in those days.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I can remember, if I'm not mistaken, 3 lights. One at the beginning of the cemetery, one like in the middle, and then one like on the end, like by Bethania Cemetery, and that was about it. And no housing developments or anything on the other side. A couple of the monument companies were there; they're still there.
Yeah.
But that was about it. There was nothing else, and it used to be pretty dark down
Wow.
there.
Yeah.
And then when they built, like I said, I got things I could tell you about this, but it seemed like when they started building the mausoleum, that's when a lot of sightings started happening. When they built the mausoleum in the cemetery.
Well, I know I have an uncle who, he's a retired Chicago police officer, but he started out in justice way back when. And he has a few stories, and I don't remember the story.
Who's this, your uncle?
Yeah, I don't remember the stories.
Ask him if you can get any of the police records, because whenever they, whenever someone reports a Mary sighting, and in some cases she darts across the road, some people actually think they've hit her with the car, and they will call the police. And Justice Police do come out and report it, and they write it, and they put right on it, Resurrection Mary sighting, possible Resurrection Mary. They do it, and of course they're confidential files. You're not supposed to. One Justice Police officer, maybe it wasn't your uncle, but one of them actually lost his job because he leaked some of that stuff out, and they told him not to do that, and he did. And
I think he was on the justice for only very short, because he then applied.
Maybe he was the one then.
Well, no, because he went on Chicago. That was what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a very straight laced, no like, how do you even say, like, very conservative. So, like, I remember, like, he had 2 incidences where he thought he seen something. So I was like, well, if he thought he seen something, he probably did, because I'm not saying the ones that did are crazy or nothing, he's not into that stuff, and he's just, now I've never personally had any experience, but it's still just so cool just to be around it. And
not with Resurrection. Other things, yes, but not Resurrection Mary. I haven't.
Yeah.
No. Eventually, when I'm in there, because I'm going to be in Resurrection myself eventually, then maybe I will come in contact with her and meet her if she is indeed there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be somebody completely different. And then you
there's a
don't
couple.
know.
There's more than one. There are
I'm
2.
Sure, yeah.
I've narrowed it down to 2. Some people say there's like 6 candidates, and there's like 3 that they say. I definitely narrowed it down to 2 just because of descriptions people have given me.
Right.
I've gotten 34 different people that claim to have had some sort of an encounter. A couple of the stories were a little far-fetched, and I believe the people were telling me, what they were honestly telling me, but I don't think they may have experienced something else. It may not have been a Resurrection Mary encounter. It may have been something else that they experienced. But nonetheless, people that I tend to take as credible witnesses to the paranormal, for that matter, for anything, are people that really have nothing to lose or gain by telling their story. This is somebody that isn't...
Right.
This is somebody that's not doing a radio show. They're not doing a movie. They're not writing a book. They're basically just, yes, I had that happen to me. I was driving there one time, and I saw this, and I'm telling you my story.
Right.
And that's it. You're not paying, they're not making any money off this, nothing. They're just giving you their story, plain and simple. Those are people I tend to take as very credible witnesses.
Right, for sure.
Because they have nothing to lose or gain by giving me their story about anything. Even like you talking about the Roth House,
Right.
Yeah,
and that's why anything. I always believe my uncle must have seen something, because he would not, he wouldn't probably tell anybody this story, because for him, he'd probably be embarrassed that they would think he's crazy, So he obviously seen some, and like you said, he didn't have nothing to gain.
Some people don't.
Yeah.
People, I've had people tell me stories and stuff like that. He says, "Did you ever tell this to anybody?" I says, "No, I didn't." I said, "Why'd you pick me to tell it to?" He says, "You seem like somebody that's interested in, somebody I can trust about this."
Yeah.
Like you kind of, and I said, "Well, thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. That people feel they can open up to you about things and tell you that. But some people are a little uncomfortable about talking about the paranormal and that kind of thing like that. They think, oh, they're going to think I'm nuts or something. No, you're not nuts. Let me tell you, if you're nuts, there's a whole lot of other people out there that are crazy. They're all a little nutty too. So no, not at all. No, I don't ever blow anybody's stories off. I listen to them and what they tell me, and I document things. I write things down and have all these files on all this stuff and everything in there.
But that Rolf House, we thought it was fantastic. We definitely want to do that again. We didn't do the overnight. We did. We were there for the whole entire day, and then even when they had an overnight there, but they were clearing out from the day people to have the overnight, we stuck around, and they still let us go down. We went down in the basement and hung out there with their little, familiar with their
the Anahata,
yes, and. It was great.
I drive nuts because I always call it the Anna Maria Alberghetti.
Yeah, and it was very interesting.
They suggest for you to record, so I recorded it while we were down there. So now that night it was very late, and I'm listening to it, and I'm not even. My daughter has a not common name, and it said her name, and I literally. It sounds dumb, but I threw my phone across the room because I was like, "Whoa!" Yeah, it was. It was a little dramatic.
We didn't hear it.
We didn't hear it when we were physically there, which is why they say to record it. And all of a sudden, it was like Emery, and my daughter. I'm like, Emery, come here, and she was like, oh my gosh, how did they even know my name? And it's not like she has a name like Jill, so it was very weird that it said her name. It said your husband's name right when you touched it.
Yeah, it did.
It was weird.
But again, we didn't pick that up until we watched the recording back. Yeah.
I've been to plenty of places. I've done the recordings and everything, and I've never really had anything like the response I had at the Rolf House.
But I guess if we would have went home and had nightmares for maybe we wouldn't.
I have nightmares anyways.
Maybe we wouldn't be going back.
Sometimes what happens in the paranormal, like you say, I've been doing this and nothing, and then all of a sudden, you know what? Sometimes it's just not the right time not the right person, not the right location.
Yeah.
You know, you hit your spot on the head, and boom, that's when something had something to reach out to you with. You know, very often too, you'll find with a team or with other folks, or even I've had where I'm with another person. And the other person is seeing something and nothing. I'm picking up nothing. Or I'm getting something. They say, you're crazy. There's nothing there. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? And I says, you can't see this. You know, sometimes you're the person they want to, for whatever reason. They choose you. You know, it's hard to say. It's really great when you have another witness that can back you up on it.
Yeah.
Of course. You know.
But I was fascinated.
When you have the tangible evidence, not just something, you know, substantial.
What really fascinated me, I mean, the whole story with the Rolfe house really fascinated me. But what really fascinated me is just the architecture of that home. How
it's an
he
Italian
rebuilt
Renaissance.
it.
Yeah, it's an Italian Renaissance.
He really researched, how, even down to like what paint,
the
what
colors
and
the
paints
fabrics
they
and
used
everything.
in that era.
Well, a mid-Victorian Italian Renaissance, Italianate house like that, you know.
Well, before
Hull house is the same architecture.
Before my
Same
mom
thing.
and dad retired and sold their house and moved up by Galena, my mom did a lot of her house was in the old like Victorian style. I'm walking through and I'm like, oh my god, it's like my mom's house. I even found we've seen furniture pieces.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. So that really fascinated
we had one of those
me.
in our attic. Yeah.
Would you too? It fascinated us just the architecture and the furniture of the house before the whole ghost thing. You know?
Seeing how bad of a shape it was 15 years ago before the current owners bought it.
Yeah, I didn't see what it looked like before.
It was awful.
Besides pictures.
The pictures.
Right.
It was like the entire stairway you could see from the outside. Just the walls were torn down.
Very often with the structure too, you hit on a key thing here, and I don't know if you realize what you just said, but very often with a dwelling, a building, for instance, and for years it sits that way and it's fine and everything like that, no activity, nothing's going on, nothing. You know, now somebody takes it over, they go in, they restore it, they renovate it, and they do this. Boom, this stirs things up. Now all of a sudden we're seeing things, we're hearing things. A lot of times that's what does it.
Oh wow!
I've had people tell me, you know, I don't understand, Bob. You know, we've lived in this house 20 years, and now all of a sudden there's a woman at the top of the stairs, and somebody's coming into the kids' room and looking over the crib, and what's going on? I says, well, did you recently do some remodeling or adding on or anything to it? Yeah, we did. I says, there it is. That's your key.
Don't fix up the house. Duly noted.
No, not always the case. Not always the case, but a lot of times it's just like, you know, it's something that awakened them.
Yeah.
Sometimes too, adding on, when you add on to a home, sometimes there's nothing in that house, but it's on that space where you're building, you know.
Yeah.
We have rebuilt our entire house, like we've been in it 20 years. And my husband, he's a carpenter by trade, and when he was knocking down some of the walls, he found like old antique bottles like in the wall and like a few pictures. So that kind of freaked me out because I'm like, are we
Why
disturbing
are there pictures
something?
in the walls?
Yeah, like are we disturbing something?
Somebody's time capsule or something they threw something.
Yeah, but no, our house has been fine. We're still.
We always wondered what happened to that picture, you know.
Yeah, it was just kind of weird, you know.
Yeah.
But we said, well, when my husband, I wanted him to put some kind of fake skeleton in the wall. Now I want to mess with people later on after we're gone, you know, with the house. You know. The floor, put something like, help me, or something.
Yeah, down the line, somebody will be renovating or something, and oh my gosh, look at this, you know.
Yeah.
We gotta move out of here. This house is possessed.
But no, I think it's great when they our house is not an old, like, that, you know, to restore, but like that one. I think it's great to restore them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like you said, that one, it would have dilapidated to nothing if somebody didn't go in there and restore it.
Now, is the house on the historic registry?
I don't think it is, because I don't think you can like fix up the houses that are on that historic registry.
Well,
can you?
the good thing, bad thing about being on the historic registry is, yes, you can renovate the house and everything like that, but now you can't change anything. If you don't like, you know, if that house is that way when it's on the registry and it's painted in pink and it's got green shutters, you better like pink and green shutters.
Right.
You can't
Because
change
it's
the
going
color.
to stay that way.
It's how it's going to stay.
I thought they were. I'm not sure.
They very well
It probably
I'm not
is.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, being that
but
it's
I do
no.
know when we talked to him, because he was a very nice man.
Oh, yeah.
We hung out with him the whole day almost. He was even barbecuing.
Yeah.
Barbecuing hot dogs on a grill. But I remember him saying that he did have certain rules he had to follow or something.
Yeah,
so
then it must be on the registry then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's certain things you can and you can't do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. New Orleans is that way. I love New Orleans. And it's the whole French Quarter is like that. Everything's on the historic registry.
Yeah.
And, boy, you buy one of those homes in the quarter, you better like that color it is because you're not changing it. That's that's what you got. Yeah. That's it. That's what stands. So, yeah. It's kind of a good thing, bad thing,
Yeah.
Yeah. Historic preservation, yeah. Mm-hmm. You like that one?
I had a comment on your thoughts earlier about whether a story is true or not, and how it changes. And when I'm encouraging people to write their story, I don't know that I think of a singular truth. Anne Lamott once said, "It doesn't matter who my father was; it matters who I remember my father as."
True.
So I think everybody's story, as they see it and as they experienced it, that's what's real. That's the real experience. So I think it's okay that we don't seek what was the truth and what was a variation for it, because I'm not sure that there is a singular truth.
We've all been to a funeral for somebody, I'm sure, and as you get older, you've been to many funerals, a lot of funerals, and sometimes you're sitting there and you've known the person, and you're sitting there and they're giving the eulogy, and he was a wonderful human being, and he was a wonderful family man. I'm thinking, are you kidding? It's great it's not lightning out right now. Are you kidding? You got to be. 100%. But they're always going to gloss it over, I mean, no one's going to say, this guy was a rotten thing. He was an alcoholic and he beat his wife and his kids, and no one's going to say those kind of things. Of course not. They're going to gloss it over, and they're going to say nice things about you. That's how you want to leave the world, being remembered nice. But deep down inside, people that really know, you're thinking, are you kidding me?
I mean, there was one funeral. I probably shouldn't say this, but there was one funeral.
They don't know who you're talking about.
That
so
I don't remember this happening at all. But it was the guy. I'm not going to name names, but his brother passed away. Non-stop slamming him back and forth. Oh, I did this for my brother, and I was like, I've never heard this happen ever, and that was the only time. So it was.
Oh, he was slamming his own brother at the funeral?
He didn't care. He was just like, he was a terrible person. Blah 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 blah. And I was like, you're talking about your brother.
Yeah, but sometimes your brothers are your terrible people.
I've actually been to a couple of funerals or wakes where, actually one for a very close family member where I held them in high regard, and then I heard one of my relatives saying some very bad things, and I was like, and I'm thinking in my head, I can't even believe that they're talking about him like this, and I'm right here, and I was just, grieving, and they were going on, and I was like horrified. Mm-hmm. So it definitely does happen. I mean, and just in general, I think all of us, you're one way with some people, and you're a different way with other people, and
or in your younger days, you might not have been such a good person, but that doesn't.
People change.
Yeah, people change.
Of course they do.
At
Sure.
all ages. You don't even think sometimes you're old and you're never going to change.
People change. You certainly hope that when people do the change, it's for the better.
Yes.
That they change to become a better person. You do something nice, for people and nice for the world and that. But a lot of times it goes the other way too. They become, they started off nice and then they end up being.
Because all it takes is something really different in your life to happen for you to have a different take on how life is. Look at the last 2 years everybody's dealt with. I think a lot of people made changes.
Oh, sure,
in their lives,
absolutely. This has had a big effect on many people. Sure, certainly has. Yeah. You can't help it. Something like this has brought a lot of death and a lot of sudden death. People have been ill with this for 3 days and boom, they're gone. All of a sudden this person was sitting there and they're gone now and that. So it's changed things. Yeah, it has. Yeah. World's never going to be the same after this. It's not going to be the same world. No. Never went through anything like this. We never went through anything this way. Never. No. Gosh, I think when I was a kid, they quarantined the village for scarlet fever. Because and I had caught scarlet fever. I was an infant. I don't remember it. My mother says, I don't know how you got it. You never left the house. Somebody had to carry it in. Somehow somebody carried it in. But they quarantined the whole town for scarlet fever. Back in the day, that was your only really weapon to control disease or anything, quarantine.
Yeah.
And now, of course, it's a lot harder to do it because, people are protesting now. I have my rights,
Yeah.
I have a right to go out and give you a disease if I want to do it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
My feeling is, everybody to their own. If you feel you don't want to get vaccinated, you don't want shots, you don't want this, you don't want that, and the other, fine, okay, but do you have to hold up signs and protest about it? Can't you just do it and we don't have to know about it? I mean,
because everybody has to make their own choice for
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah,
They really
yeah,
do.
so-
Well,
That's
and,
it,
and my whole thing, though, is just whether you believe in it or not, just be a decent person. And it might not affect you. You might not think that it's going to affect you, but I don't want you to kill someone in my family because you don't want to wear a mask or something. I mean, it's not convenient for anybody, but it's become our new norm.
It's just different. Yeah, it's just like we just said that. It's just, I don't want to get into the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, it really has changed the world. The world's never going to be the same after this. It's not going to. And I think we all realize that we're a little more vulnerable than we thought we were.
Yeah.
I think we all thought that this was something, oh no, having a pandemic or having something like this, that's something that would have happened, 100 years ago. We don't have that now. Surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wonder how other countries are handling it,
They're not. They're not. Some are doing okay with it.
You're only getting what the media is telling us as far as other countries. And I know people have family.
There again now,
family,
step stories,
right?
what is true and what isn't
Yeah.
true. You don't know exactly what you're hearing that's true and what's not true.
Right.
You really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
One doctor says one thing, another doctor
Right.
says this,
Yeah.
and another doctor says that. Okay, these are all supposed to be the top doctors. Who do I believe?
Yeah.
Right.
But
I don't know.
And I get a little, my son is and his wife are in Germany. He's in the military. So, and they moved there during COVID.
Sure.
So he, I hear a little bit about what's going on there, but still he is also on an American Army base. So,
Mhm. Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Well, I will tell you, Carrie, this was probably this health unrest. We do not say its name anymore. This is the one thing that in all the years I've been gone from Ireland, the world has kind of gotten very similar because there's so many of the same experiences, the same chains, the same TV programs. But I just realized with this particular situation that it was the exact same. Their schools were closing at the same time. The community was made up of those who were prepared to do what they believed was the right thing to do, and there were others who believed that was not the right thing to do. There was all the same components that make up our lives here with the virus. Very, very similar in the UK and in Ireland. We have relatives in Australia.
Human nature is the same no matter where you go.
yeah.
And it was so global. We were all dealing with the exact
Yes.
same thing at the
Yeah.
same time. That was really... Then we knew we were the global village.
Yeah.
Something like this, when you have a lot of death coming from something like this in a short time like that, boy, that certainly sets up for activity and things to happen. When you have a lot of people suddenly taken, from the world, any disaster or anything like that.
Yeah.
And this is a disaster too.
Yeah.
This kind of thing, the amount of death you've had from something like this, that people that should not have died are dying from this, and it's just kind of a sad thing. It really is. It's very sad. Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I have a strange thing that I do, and I don't know if anybody else that has done this. Anytime I go and see anybody for visitation, I don't care who it is, I can remember what they were buried in, what their clothes were. I don't know why I do that. And it could be like a friend, and I just go out of respect to see their mom, and I never knew their mother,
But
and
you
I go and see
right.
it, and I can tell you what they were. I don't know why, but I remember that, and I've done that since I've been a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know why. I could tell you what they were wearing. Yeah.
Can I tell you something funny about that, Bob? So I help, obviously, when people are doing their estate planning, they'll often write, what songs they want. They'll make the final arrangements. And a lot of my little old ladies will pick out the dress they're going to wear. And one of my little old ladies, and she was not young in her days, she was in her early 80s, and she said, all my friends are picking out the dress they want to be buried in. I hope that I haven't even bought it yet.
There you go.
I love the optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the story of the man that was buying a suit, and the suit came with 2 pairs of pants, and he says, well, I'm going to save some money, he says, because I'm going to be using the suit, and then where I'm going to be taking it when I go, I won't need the other pair of pants. So, and you really don't. You come into the world with nothing, and you leave with nothing, Although I've known people that found ways they thought they were going to take it with them. What they were going to do with it, I don't know, but they thought they were going to take it with, Yeah, it's a funny thing. Everybody views death and dying and everything differently, depending on your culture, your background, and just on the person themselves. Everybody views it a little differently. Yeah, people feel different about that and everything like that. But if there's a way for me to come back, I want to do it. Yeah, I want to be able to come back.
That's my whole thing. I always say to like my kids and stuff and my friends, and if I'm able to, I want to haunt you. Not in a bad way, but like, do little things that that it's obviously.
I don't want to haunt people. I just want to come back.
Yeah,
there might be a few.
Yeah, there's a couple people I wouldn't mind haunting in a bad way. I'm using the word haunt loosely, but yeah, just come back and let people know that like I'm okay. Things, it's fine. You shouldn't be scared and whatnot. And I'm still
goes back to what you said. Is I'm more afraid of living people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People are scary.
Yeah.
I've never felt
people
afraid in any cemetery
scary.
I've ever been in. And a lot of times I'm often there by myself, and then I've never felt afraid. Never.
Yeah.
No.
We did the same thing at night at Bachelor's Grove just a couple months ago with a good friend of mine, and she had her stepson and I had my grandson, and they're young. They're like in middle age, or middle school age, And same thing. We started getting creeped, but I was getting more scared. Like if there's people in there because we had our kids with us. So we were like, let's get out of here. We were starting to creep ourselves out because of the fact that we were scared there would be living people in there.
Well, you're in Bachelor's Grove. You're in a cemetery that's very well known for its paranormal activity and for strange activity going on and all that. And you're there after hours in the dark. Yeah, it's going to add a little creepiness to the atmosphere, Just like a nice thunderstorm would do the same thing, too, Many people feel like... That's the thing about ghost hunting and that, too, with the paranormal investigating and that. People say, well, why do they always do it at night? And I say, you don't have to.
Right.
Things that I've experienced and stuff, I've experienced many things during broad daylight,
The majority of mine has actually, been during the day.
Daylight, Many investigators use the excuse that they do it at night because the night hours are quieter. And, okay, I could buy that. So if you're looking to record things, you're looking to fill things or whatever, you do have very little disturbance in that. But it doesn't have to be at night. I think that's something that maybe Hollywood laid on us all, that it has to be something done at night and with a thunderstorm, and it's got to be a real creepy
I think they say that like 3 a.m. is the
factor.
witching hour.
The ghost hours,
Yeah, they say that. I often wake up at 3 a.m.
A lot of the Mary
I'm a night
sightings,
owl.
people with the Mary sightings, a lot of them happen right around that time, between like 3 and 4 a.m. in the morning.
That's probably why I haven't ran into her.
You're not there at that time.
Yeah, no.
Because I originally I work in healthcare is my and I've worked few places that I worked on midnights. I'm a night owl. I am not your early bird person. I'll be up if I absolutely have to be, but if I don't, I'm not. But I worked on those midnight hours in the old Northwestern Hospital, and then just some locally too. And you're walking in some of those dark hallways, and I've never experienced it myself, but I had several coworkers that would, and it was always around those times, 3 or 4. They would.
When I was,
you figure a hospital, there's a lot of spirits.
Oh yeah.
A couple of years ago, I had a car accident. I was hit by a car when I was walking in that, and so I was in the hospital for a little bit, and I was in a rehab center, a nursing home, and that. And of course, nursing homes are great because you have so much people dying all the time, and that. Right. And one night, same thing with me. I'm in the wheelchair, and I wheel around myself at night and everything like that. And I was going by one room. I said, something just happened here. Something just happened in this room. It's an empty room, and I went in. And so the one nurse come, and she says, what are you doing in that room? And I says, no, something just happened. You better open up a couple of windows. She says, I'm just getting ready to do that. She says, we just had the lady pass away in here and there. And I says, I could feel it. I says, something just happened. Something, so you pick up on it.
My mom's a nurse, and when she worked at Little Company years ago, I believe it was that Little Company, they had where you could open the windows.
The old Northwestern's buildings, too.
Well, no, but my point was that by the time she got to Northwestern, the windows were sealed. So that is like a true thing that nurses will do, is open the windows to let the spirits out. And so she was able to do that at Little Company. I don't know, now they've renovated, but at Northwestern you couldn't. So she was like, where did they go? They just, then they are just roaming the halls.
They go out the door, down the hall, to the elevator, down.
Unless picture somebody like us and we get lost.
Yeah. Do they have GPS in the
It's a paranormal transfer.
Yeah.
It's a paranormal transfer. They move from one. Oh, there's one thing. I don't want to say the name of the place, but there's one really good place where they actually. The supposed haunted building was on actually this side of the street. But then they knocked that building down and they moved it across the street. So the ghosts just all walked across the street. Now that's a very haunted building too. I says, how convenient to just walk right across? And I says, don't you think they would still be in that area?
Guard.
Yeah. I don't know. It's amazing. Yeah, yeah. But very often it's not the building itself. It's the land that's there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what's it. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows what was there before you put a wall around it,
Right, yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we've all had those experiences. We've all had that. Bachelor's Grove is great for that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've heard many people over the time say, oh, there's nothing that really goes on there. It's been, over the years, it's been so overdone and this and that and the other and all that. Nah, I don't think so. Every time I've gone out there, there's something that I felt or something and mine weren't always like the normal things like, the woman in the white and the yellow suit man and all that.
Right.
None of those. Always something different.
Yeah.
I've noticed, because I used to live like right in that Oak Forest area. It was like a 10-minute walk through the woods to Bachelor's Grove. We went like 3 or 4 times, one of which I went with Sarah. And in that gated area where the graves are, you feel a lot safer than once you step out into the forest. It's like,
it is like a calming feeling when you're actually physically in there.
Yeah. And then the moment you're out by the water there, it's something like just starts to creep in.
It's
like
a little creepier, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of the day.
I was actually one time there by myself. And the stump, I don't like to sit on the headstone. Sometimes I do. Somebody actually took my picture one time sitting on the headstone because I was tired and somebody was sitting on the stump, so I had to sit on the headstone. But anyway, I was sitting on the headstone. I fell asleep. And then when I woke up, there were people like coming in and they're like milling around and everything and that, and and I'm like, oh geez, I didn't know people were even in here. You just thought that was just a very peaceful feeling.
Oh yeah.
I just fell asleep.
Yeah.
Cemeteries have that effect.
Yeah.
I love cemeteries.
Yeah. She used to do this many years ago, just go on cemetery walks, and I never did that. I was like, what? But I've done it a few times with a few other friends over just the past couple of years. Well, really, since COVID, mostly, because there wasn't a lot of places to go, I found it very calming and peaceful. And like you said, so the headstones, just you learn something fascinating.
The older the cemetery, the better the headstones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we have a funny family. It's not funny. It's actually terrible. But so I do a lot with the ancestry, and I came across this headstone, and sometimes they capture your attention, and then I'll go and try to research it and see how the person died or whatever. There was this headstone, and it was like with multiple people, and the dad had died one day, and then the mom and the 2 kids died a couple days later. And I'm like, maybe it was a car accident or something.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, no, and it's a relative of mine. That's why I was looking at the headstone. And so
I'm
now
still traumatized over
so
this
now
story.
I go back and I research, and it was all over the newspapers actually during the last pandemic. Her husband died during the pandemic. He died, and she was so grief stricken that she put the gas pipe on. Like she had her the stove or something, whatever. Anyways, she killed herself and her children.
Wow.
This would have been in the 1918 pandemic.
It was 1918.
Yes.
Oh, maybe they had gas jets.
Yeah, it was something with the gas, because then like somebody came over because they smelled it and they were all dead, and it was like a 5 and 8 year old. So it's funny because our family.
She was just so bereaved.
I was like, I don't know if I wanted to know that.
Well, our family can be a little like I don't know, strange and eclectic and spirited. We'll put it that way, spunky.
Yeah.
And so then I'm doing this research, and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Like certain things.
She finds things out. Like I want. Now we share the same. Our mothers, our sisters. So like our fathers are. We're different families. So I wanted her to find out some information on my father's side that we've been told like our whole lives, but
Yeah.
never.
Is it true or not?
Is it true
Yeah.
or not? But now
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I want to know because I don't want to be scared.
Knowing it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
What is
for
what
instance,
happened
yeah.
happened, and it's not knowing it or not knowing it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
It's just that you know it.
Yeah, my grandfather.
You can't go back and undo the past.
Great
You
grandfather
can't.
that was a strongman in the circus.
Oh,
back in the
okay.
days, and he
Yeah.
built all their sets and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But my family knows nothing about like what the name of the circus was, and then when their circus kind of died down,
He goes to another circus.
He
Yeah.
moved. He stayed in Chicago and helped build. He was a carpenter. So
Okay.
he helped build Chicago. So, like, our family on my dad's side, they're on, well, my son would have been the 6th generation, but he started the Carpenters Union, but then he went back to the Army. He really, that's a love of his. So our family was on their 5th generation carpenter in Chicago, but it all started with the strongman in the circus. But I never know if that's a true story or was that just something in our family that was told, because nobody really knew like the name of the circus. Obviously, we know his name and everything, but
his
so
name.
she's
But
gonna do some
then if he was in the
researching.
circus, he probably would have had a stage name.
Right.
So that would have changed. And then circuses too. Very often, performers, unless you were a huge headliner, you changed circuses.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the circus was a great place to hide your identity.
Oh, for
Circus,
sure.
people,
yeah.
the old thing about running away to join the circus. A lot of people did that because you could hide in the circus, and they had their own little world where you were kind of protected, and they did that. If you were running away from a bad marriage, or running away from a marriage, or running away from a crime you committed, or whatever it may be, you could join the circus, and you would have your anonymity. And you got to remember, back in the day, there were no social security numbers, so it wasn't easy to track people down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. Yeah.
And Carrie, I would say that is just a fascinating story.
I know, right? I want to know more about it.
So it really doesn't matter. So say you were writing your legacy letter, you would talk about this long line of carpenters and building Chicago and the story about the strongman. So it's just a great story.
Well,
so
I'm
it doesn't
always
matter.
with my business because I'm really into the the dark and the old carnival, the freak show, that kind of stuff. I love that, and so does she.
Oh, gosh.
But I don't want to get into that, like, that's where I came from, and then you find out I was really from a bunch of rapists and murderers. I mean, you know what I mean? We were just being lied to all these years.
We used to go to, I don't know if anybody here is old enough to remember Riverview. I know you certainly aren't. Riverview Park, when we used to have Riverview in Chicago.
Yes.
And when I was a kid, and I love to tell this story, they had the freak show in Riverview. And my mother would not go into it.
I was never
I'm not
there,
going to
but
go into
my-
that.
yeah.
I'm not going into that. My brother wouldn't go in there. My father, come on, Bobby, we'll go in. So I'd go in there. And I would talk to everybody. I talked to the Popeye guy, and I talked to the lady with the hoofs on her hands, and the fat man, and everybody, And we'd get out of there. And my mother would say, "What the heck were you two doing in there so long?" My father said, "This one here." They were people. I talked to them all. It didn't matter. And a lot of them did that. It wasn't something that they didn't like doing. They loved doing it because, what else could they do?
Yeah.
You couldn't have, the lady with the hoofs for hands, operate the door in, the elevator in Macy's department store or something. You couldn't, so this is what they did. This was their,
actually, there are modern day ones that
Oh, yeah,
do it
they're
now.
around.
There's one actually.
It's largely, a lot of it has largely been, not really outlawed, but they just don't do it anymore because it's sort of your exploit. People don't, people feel like they're, but
you
they
said,
like doing it because that was their living.
I met a group, and
Yeah.
they're originally out of California, but they travel, and they did do a show at in Chicago at that Reggie's. It's on like State Street, down there. And I'm trying to get them to come over in our area on the south side. But
Of course,
they need
these
a
days
big
we don't
location.
really need to go pay money to see a freak show. We get enough of strange people walking around the streets
Yeah,
these days as
yeah.
it is. We
It's
really
true.
do. So
Yeah.
we don't really need to pay an admission to go see that stuff anymore.
Yeah, but like I was saying, there is like the ones that are in it, like they're very want to do that.
Oh yeah,
they want to do
yeah.
it.
Well, like you say, a lot of
Yeah.
them, if you have some deformity or some affliction or like a lot of times you can't do really anything else. So rather than be like on a disability, I'd rather do this and work and So they, I'm fine. Not a problem with that.
Yeah, but I mean, I do think back in the day, it was like
Exploitive.
just, like, exploitive.
Sure, it was.
Yeah,
Of course, it was. Yeah, yeah, it was exploitive. Yeah.
I've noticed that TikTok is a platform for, and it has crossed my mind, that F show word. And first it's kind of, is this exploitive? But some of these particular TikTokers have millions of viewers, and they maybe have a severe physical deformity.
Sure.
but they are doing something that's entertaining enough that people keep coming back. So on one hand, is this awful exploitation? Are we just watching the most awful thing that you wouldn't normally see? Or is this truly a quality democracy where these people who wouldn't normally have an audience now have people who are interested in them?
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of them that I've watched, they explain what is. So you might see this person and not know what's wrong with them and stuff, and then they explain, well, this is why I'm, and it brings more attention to whatever they.
Then you sort of have that thing like, well, all right, now if they're running some show or something like that, I'm actually paying an admission to go and see it. Am I contributing to their welfare, their well-being, or am I contributing to their exploitation?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
I think it gives them a sense of comfort because
I do too.
Staying at home, not really going out much, or even, I mean, it still opens the floodgates for bullies and people of that sort. But I think with TikTok and a lot of those social media sites, a lot more people come forth and are supporting them and giving them that helping hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of the boys that was one of the midgets in the Wizard of Oz. He was in Wizard of Oz, and they did use the midget. They actually used a vaudeville company, the Singers Midgets. They were a vaudeville touring. I don't know what exactly they did, but they performed. But then they used other ones too, because they were, when the casting call went out, they were getting other. And this boy, he was like, I think he said he was like 16 years old, and he came there to do the Wizard of Oz, and he was one of the lollipop boys. And he says, oh my gosh, he says, this was like the best thing that ever happened to me because I saw other people like me. Because I lived in a small little town in Iowa, and he said, I was the only little person, and there was nobody, and he says, oh my gosh, I felt so welcomed and so loved, and I was with other people like me. So he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Got paid $50 a week, but of course it was 1939. It was the Depression. You were happy to get the $50 a week.
Exactly.
Terry the dog. Terry Toto actually had a name. His name was Terry. Terry got paid $125 a week.
Really?
Wow.
He made more money than some of the Munchkins.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But going back to this Witcherama, they do, and it's kind of really interesting. They do during the market, they do a pop-up drag show, and that is. They're all 19, 20 years old, young.
Now, what does a drag show have to do with Witcherama?
Well, because one of he started out doing the Witcheramas with his mom, and this was the thing is he had a group of friends, and that were at different schools because these young ones, the social media they've been on for years, they know, but their junior and senior years were just blown. They were gone, obliterated. Yeah, they didn't get to, and they were all those kids that were in the drama club and in the plays and in this. So literally, they started doing drag and doing private drag shows during all the shutdowns. So when this opened back up, now he's 19 and he's like, we're doing these at the show, and of course, mom's like 100%. Supportive.
Yeah, fine.
And it's great. It is great to see these young, 19, 20-year-olds, and they're just not like kids dressing up. They really put on a good performance. It really is fun, But it's just fun to see people do things like because of the pandemic. Well, we're still going to have our drama here, because they missed out.
Life goes on.
Yeah, they missed out on a lot of,
Sure.
things.
I just can't make the connection. Why don't you just have a drag show? Why does a drag show
they do.
have to be?
They do different drag shows, but at this location,
it's just another
they have
venue
a
for
stage.
Okay.
There's a stage, so they were like, "What should we do with the stage?" And he was like, "The Dom is one of who helps his mom run these. They do a pop up, so
and they do pop up drag shows.
Yeah,
just straight pop up drag shows too."
Yeah. But it fits in nice there. It fits in very well there.
And you get like a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
You get like the witches.
And it's just
stuff
like
that.
they pop up on the stage. So every, it is. It's a lot of fun. You got to come out.
Just the way she said it, so matter of fact, it's a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
You get the witches, and you get the drag.
Yes.
It is fun too. They'll have a tattoo artist.
Well, for somebody to come on and didn't have nothing to say, you said a lot. That's
good. Why I knew she.
Yeah, you did all right. Yeah,
great.
You did all right for yourself.
I didn't want to drive myself because I'm not familiar with this.
Well, folks, it's like running on 8:45, so I'm going to run down the roster here. Tim, anything to say in closing?
I'll just mention Worth Park District has a haunted house. They're actually the one that I started at. Midnight Terror is my third haunted house. I worked at Disturbia a little bit last year. But yeah, they do a haunted trail. It's real short, pretty cheap, and it's high school kids that are typically getting community service hours. So it's
good. Okay,
them starting out in the haunting career. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so you put a nice plug for them. Good for you. So that will be October though.
Yeah.
In the October to haunt season, yeah.
Yep.
Well, we'll get you back on as it gets closer to October. You can put a plug in for that.
Awesome.
There you go. Someone said something and it just I think you said something about a car crash. I don't know why it reminded me, but they don't have a lot of people viewing them, but I think they're doing something really, really good for everyone. I think they're just doing it all around the United States, but on YouTube it's called Adventure with a Purpose, and I can't stop watching them. And
who are them and what are they doing?
So it's two guys. I'm terrible with names, so I can't remember the two guys' names. But they go to different ponds, different lakes, different oceans, and you name it, any kind of land with water on it. They will go and scuba dive. Well, they first scan it.
Oh, okay.
And then they check, there's a car, there's a couple cars, there's 5 cars, there's 10 cars. We're looking at these.
I think I've seen an advertisement for that or something.
It's a little sensitive to watch, but they don't show any of the bodies, they don't show anything inappropriate, and it's just not fascinating, but it's just something that we should be able to talk about more of, like cold cases. Like, there's a crap ton of cold cases.
Oh, there's some very high profile ones, like the Grimes sisters and different people that have never been solved. Yeah,
and I think the latest one that I watched, it was like 30 years has gone by, and it was like right down their street, and it was a little pond, and they were right in there, and
who knew?
Yeah, and some of the subscribers, I think 1 or 2 of them had to reach out to them and say, hey, I think my son's in this lake. The police aren't listening to me. No one's paying attention to what I have to say about my son. And so he was like, you know what? I'm going to go look for you. And soon enough, they found him. They found the car. He was in there. And it was like maybe 2 years of not knowing. And it's just, these guys are phenomenal. It's just
something maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, maybe that might have slipped through the cracks somehow. Right. But something from 2 years, you think they would be a little more thorough.
Right. Yeah.
Unless they were hiding something.
Exactly.
Well, no, usually, actually, when going into water, they, because it costs so much, they need, definitive proof that person made it into the water. Sure, so car tracks or something.
Unless you're a Kennedy or somebody with wealth where you can spend the money to dive down to the bottom of the ocean or something. Other than that, the average person, though, it's a very costly thing. But still, you want to settle these cases. There have been some very, very high profile cases that have been settled. Never solved their cold cases. One a friend of mine has an antique shop in Orland Park. She firmly believes that she had a great aunt, that the family, again, one of those stories that no one can really, it's one of those family stories that they talked about, but the aunt came to Chicago to work for the Columbian Exposition and never came back. And they firmly believe that she wound up a victim of H.H. Holmes. Yeah, they firmly believe that because they have just no explanation. She just vanished. So where did she go, Who knows? We don't know. Carrie, in closing.
Okay, so I wanted to let everybody know next Sunday we are doing an event at our shop. It's called Be My Bloody Valentine Party. So we have where you can make your own Valentine. Of course, they're a little creepy Valentines. And then we also have where you can paint your own anatomical heart with a coffin. Come on out. We'll have a tarot reader and all kinds of fun activities. So, again, it's going to be on February 13th. That's Sunday, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m.
2 p.m. to 7 p.m., Sunday the 13th.
Right.
And what are you charging for that? An admission to get in?
Oh, no, there's no admission.
No admission? Nothing? They just come in? Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something to do and you want to get introduced to Carrie and the nice little store she's got out there and that, go in there and take a look. That'd be a great way for you to do it. Yeah.
Great. And then you'll have to follow
Let everybody know the location. Got to tell them where it's at.
We're at 5561 West 127th Street in Crestwood, Illinois. It's right off of 294. It's very easily accessible.
Are you that close to 294? You know, when I was over there, I never knew 294 was that close.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
Jeez. It is
and
a
then
small world.
You can follow us on our social media pages, because I do a lot of markets. Like I said, we were at the Valentine's Massacre one where I ran into you just this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then yesterday, and we have a lot of things. There's a lot of things coming up that we'll be at. So we always post and share everything on there.
Yeah.
So.
What have you got for closing? What's your closing comments here?
Okay, so final plug. The business is All About Vintage Estates. We're at allaboutvintageestates.com. We're also on Facebook and Insta. Our email is aavestates at gmail.com. And it's me and my best friend Natalie and our kiddos Gina, mine, Layla, and Emery who help us. And we, like I said, we do estate sales for passing and people who've passed, and moving, downsizing, and we're a lot of fun, and we do a lot of hard work. And
I don't want to interrupt you, but if you're somebody that's a repurposer, like we are for our shop or anything,
yes.
Man, it's the best places to find some.
Sure, stuff
It
you
really
can
is,
use and-
especially furniture. We're practically giving away because furniture's harder to move and stuff. And the night before sales, I always do a final walkthrough, and I always show like furniture pieces and stuff. And I'm like, you might not like this color, but you can switch it up. And I brought with right now the sale we just did. There was a broken angel. I repurposed it into like a Day of the Dead type thing, and for her shop.
I'm bringing it in my shop.
Yeah. So
Get creative.
Check out some of our sales.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
And how do they get a hold of you if they want to use you for an estate run an estate sale?
So I'm going to pawn this off on my business partner. She's more the voice of the business. So Natalie, 708-207-0211, or Facebook. We have our website, allaboutvintageestates.com. She does the Instagram. We're all over. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Eileen, last but not least. Well, no, not really last. I'll be the last.
Well, I just wanted to say thanks a million, Bob, for inviting
Oh, it was a
me.
pleasure having all of you here. Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
What a surprise.
Isn't that
to
nice?
have the other guests.
Yeah.
And I have just absolutely loved listening to your stories and who you are. And, the one thing that every time I meet new people and have them talk about their lives is how important their stories are and fascinating. So, and not just those of us who've lived a few more decades, but you too also. Look how much you've already lived in your lives and the stories you already have. So I want to invite all of you, if you're free Monday, February the 28th, to a workshop that I am doing on how to write your story. It's at O'Hara and Friends Salon, which you might be familiar with.
I know exactly where it is. Exactly, yes.
So Kathy's a great friend of mine. We do a lot of networking together. She used to be in Alsip, right beside you. She's now in Palos Heights. So she does a lot of charity work. She does a lot of functions, events at her salon. So she brings people in. She just always has that place full of life, brimming with life. So I am going to be teaching my Share My Legacy workshop there. February 28th, there's no charge to be there. You're so welcome to join me. And we'll spend 2 hours just teaching you how to get started with writing this letter, the kind of sections to include, and then how to sign it off. And then I'll have some lovely giveaways that night as well. So I'd love you to join us. I'd love your listeners, Bob, to join us.
Sure.
And I have absolutely loved this experience. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here, all of you. It was a joy. Now you know why I like doing this. I really do. It's really great. Same thing. I love listening to people, what they have to. Everybody has a story to tell. I love that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you did a very good job of your guests here, because I was very intrigued by everybody's stories too, and especially I love to get the younger generation in, because you all. I know with me and her, I have kids in my 20s. her daughter's heading into her 20s.
Yeah. Okay, Carrie, you can lay it off. They'll come. They'll buy something at the store. They'll come. They'll buy something. Yeah, we get the message. No,
I love you, Bob. I love you.
Of course, I'm kidding. No, we got to plug everybody here. We got to plug people.
No, but this was a very cool setting, and the way you
nice.
let every, because I was actually super nervous, and I wasn't expecting
No.
to talk.
You know what I used to do when I first started doing radio and that, I would get maybe 7, 8 people sometimes coming on the show, and we'd get groups and like a whole paranormal investigative team and that. And some people I found were maybe a little more standoffish, and I says, no, we're just talking like we're just sitting and talking to each other. The only thing is you got a microphone in front of you. You know what I actually started doing? I started doing You Bet Your Life. I started doing a quiz show before we would do the show, and we would do that, and I'd have everybody talk, and we'd do the quiz show, and we'd have little prizes and stuff like that. Man, it was a great warm-up.
Yeah.
After that, I found people were comfortable, and they could go on, and you can get a great interview, and they would talk, and it was good, where they might not have done so beforehand. But this was no problem here. I didn't think there would be. Yeah, this was great. So everybody had something nice to say that was good, and try to divide the time up with everybody, and you jump in whenever we're saying, kind of jump in whatever you've got to say. We're going to throw some plugs in for some folks here. Neil Gibbons, Gravesite Paranormal. They are doing the Roth House. They are actually doing the Roth House Valentine's Day at the Roth House. Now, I'm not sure if that is the 13th. Go up on the Gravesite Paranormal website, and it shows it on there. And I think he said he has something like 10 or 12 seats left. It's like $125 and doing a Roth House investigation. I know you won't go, Tim, because you said you want to go back there again. But they're doing that over there, and that will be there. And they always do a nice job at what they do. So that will be with Gravesite Paranormal. Mr. Jack Chavez, who's everywhere. I'm surprised he's not here tonight because Jack just gets around all over the place. He drives me nuts. You open up your closet door and Jack's standing there. It's like he's all over the place. Honest to God, the guy's like, caramba. Anyway, he's running a Paracon, and that will be in my old neighborhood where I used to live, right over on 63rd and Archer, and that will be March 6th. He's running a Paracon there. No admission. You can kind of come in and do that. And there'll be a couple of paranormal teams there. I will be there. I'm having a little Carrie's going to be there selling stuff. She'll be there doing things and that. So he's doing this for the first time. He's kind of doing a good job getting it going and that. So that will be March 6th. That will be the Paracon, and I don't know the address. Do you know the address?
It's at this place.
You know what, 63rd and Archer.
Witcherama thing. That's exactly where it's at.
Oh,
here's the
the Witcherama.
They use the same place. It's going to be at the same place. Yes.
Oh, this is actually a banquet hall where they do weddings and stuff. And
it's fantastic. It's
and
a
they
good
do the
setup
Witcherama there
yeah.
too. Oh, okay. I didn't.
That's how Jack got the place. He came out to visit me at the Witcherama, and he really liked the place, so he ended up talking to them and booking it. Yeah.
He's a little weasel, isn't he? I love Jack. He's great.
I do too.
You know,
I
have this like running joke going with him, and then I stopped doing it because people are going to start taking me serious. Every time I'd send like a message or something, I says, I don't know why I even bother talking to you. I don't like you anyway. And I always put on there, I don't like you, and all and all this. And then finally people started asking. He says, why does Bob say he doesn't like you like that? So I stopped doing it because I don't want people to think that. No, Jack, we like you.
Yeah.
That's why we're throwing in a plug for your event here, and we know it's going to be a success. Of course, it will be a success. Then who else do we plug? Oh, the Black History Month. Don't forget it's Black History Month. President's Month. Honor our presidents. Anybody got a strange presidential fact about anybody, any president? Something you could think of?
Well, Abraham Lincoln freed his slaves. Talk about combining Black History Month and President's Month, but not for a year until they wrapped everything up.
Juneteenth. That's why they celebrate Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They weren't his slaves, though, the way you said he freed his slaves.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Because I thought, oh, God, what is she going to say? He had slaves? Yeah. No, Juneteenth. By the time the war ended, of course, news traveled a lot slowly in those days before the final ones were actually delivered out of bondage. It was, in
Actually,
June.
it was George Washington.
Well, George Washington actually had a clause in his will, which you should know since you write wills.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same thing with Thomas
I
Jefferson.
did not know that.
Thomas Jefferson had that clause in his will, too.
Because he had I can't remember her name. But
Sally Hemings?
Yep. And her and her children, he wanted to free, but I'm pretty sure they didn't actually get freed until his wife passed.
No, the wife died way before him.
Oh, okay.
By the time he came to be a president, he was already a widower.
Okay.
When he was in the presidency, but that didn't stop him from holding on his long-standing relationship with Sally Hemings.
Yeah.
That relationship went on for about 25 years. There were 4 children that came out of that relationship. Mm-hmm. They're actually in dispute about that right now because the people are all cool with it. Both sides of the family, the Hemings side from Sally Heming and the Jefferson side from his wife, Martha Wales Skelton. They have no problem with being related to each other. And it's really strange because some of the white people are related through Sally Hemings, to the black side. Some of the black people are related to the white side. Sally Hemings' father, her father, John Wales, fathered Sally Hemings. Huh. So Sally Hemings and Thomas Jefferson's wife, Martha, are half-sisters.
I did not
Interesting,
know that.
isn't it? But anyway, the big thing is about the heirs from the Hemings side being buried in Monticello.
Okay.
In the Monticello Society, whatever the thing is, says, no, we don't want them because they're not true heirs. Yes, they are. If they're his children, they're his children.
Exactly.
But and they're all cool with it. They're fine with it. But this goofy society that's acting up about that. Yes, but interesting. Like Jefferson, I could talk. I do a whole program on. In fact, when John Chicond and I get together, we're going to do a whole thing. He's got to do something on the presidents. I'm going to do 45 presidents in 45 minutes. I'm going to run through every president and give you facts about the presidents in a minute.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah. We have one president that was buried under a foreign flag. Every president's buried under the U.S. flag. We have one that was buried under a foreign flag. The only time it ever happened. Huh. And that would have been our 10th president, John Tyler. John Tyler was our 10th president. He was the first president that became president on the death of another president. That would have been William Henry Harrison, who died after only 1 month in office. Mm-hmm. He caught pneumonia and died. And John Tyler had to fight for the president because he said, by the Constitution, I am vice president, and I now hold the office of the presidency. They didn't want him to have it because they didn't like him. But he stuck to his guns. He got to be president. But anyway, some years later, now he was the 10th president. A few years later, when the Civil War started, he remained loyal to the Confederacy and actually joined the Confederate Senate. And when he died, he has to be buried under the Confederate flag.
Wow.
Yeah. And he has grandsons. He was born in the 18th century. He was born in the 18th century, and he has grandsons. Not great-grandsons, not great-great-grandsons. He has grandsons that are alive today. Because he had 15 children. 7 of the children he had by his first wife, 7 of the children he had by his second wife. And one of his daughters that was born when he was in his 70s, and then he died like a couple of years later, she lived up until 1947, and her children are his grandsons. So it's interesting that a man born in the 18th century had children in the 19th century and into the 20th century. He's got grandchildren.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's mind-boggling to think about,
wow.
isn't it? Yeah. That's mind-boggling, yeah. But that's because he had such a large family, and he had 2 marriages.
Well, you're still having kids at 70.
Yes. Mary Todd Lincoln actually claimed to see his ghost, but one thing was wrong about her story was she claimed to see his ghost before he died.
Nope.
Yeah, because he proposed to his second wife in the Blue Room in the White House, and that's where she claimed to see him. So is that possible for people to see someone, or is it possible that she sort of was seeing like a time travel type thing, or sort of suspended there, and when the conditions are just right, it sort of replays itself like a residual. Yeah, it comes back. So we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we can go on and on about the presidents.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting facts about the presidents and stuff. Black History Month, don't forget that. And also, too, I'm going to throw another plug in for Clockwork Mobile Escape Rooms with Mr. Colin Dunlap. That's actually not his name, Dunlap. He has a different name. It's like Schwage Defoe something or other. It's like a hyphenated name, Irish name. He's got nice guy. I like Colin.
Yeah, he is a very nice
I like
guy.
Colin. We don't always understand we didn't understand each other at first. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was, but now we're cool. We're fine now. We're fine. Yeah. No, it worked out really nicely. Anyway, Colin's Clockwork Mobile Escape Rooms. Oh God, Colin's going to kill me. Phone 219-323-2211. Mention Bob Trzeciak and this radio, Paranormal Radio, and you will get yourself a $50 discount if you want to use his escape rooms and the other things he does too. He's actually got like some of the kids jumping things now too. He's going into that, and then also too he'll pay $20, but the $20 he's going to give me, I'm not going to take that. We'll go to John DeVita, so we'll do that. So call up Mobile Clockwork and book him for something and get a $50 discount and have $20 sent over to the station to John. Okay. Who did we miss? What did we not? We plugged Jack thing. We plugged Graveside Paranormal. You got yours in. Everybody got something. Oh, and then I will be on cable TV next week, Thursday. What am I going to talk about?
Oh, everything.
Yeah, we're going to cover. It's a 25-minute show. Now, I can do about 2 hours. So,
I don't think you're going to have a hard time.
No, 25 minutes.
How am I going to keep them down?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah. Sometimes you really have to limit yourself into things. So yeah, I'll stick to the criteria. I'll make sure we go 25 minutes.
It'll be great.
Why is it 25 minutes? We have like 5 minutes because you're a public station. You have to have public service announcements.
That's just we just tend tend to go anywhere between 20, 30. I try not to have it too brief or go on too long. So
I get you.
it's
No,
just
the reason I asked is because when I used to do radio with WAG Radio, since they were a school station, they had to have so much public service announcements. So we always had to have like something in there about, you shouldn't smoke, or something about health, or something. They always had to have some kind of public service announcements, yeah. Isn't she just like the most adorable thing? She's like so pleasant, and she sits there and smiles.
It
and
is.
just,
I'm like,
it's
she's
like,
one of
yeah.
our. It's nice to meet neighbors.
Yeah,
You're
isn't it?
close to us.
Yeah,
so
isn't
I
it?
have to-
Yeah, she's just such a pleasant and nice person, and all this and everything.
Well, thank
She
you.
probably has a couple of knives or an axe or something in that handbag, but
Well,
no,
no.
no, I'm kidding, of course. No. We were just talking about how everybody has that. I'm looking forward to doing your show. I really am. And then after we're off the air, I'm going to get the address from you because I wrote it down someplace, but God knows where I put it. Okay, Mr. John, take us away. Thank you so much, folks, for listening to Paranormal Radio. It's a joy doing these shows. These are a lot of fun to do and everything. Want to be a guest on the show? Let me know. We'll get you in here. I don't care if you sell lollipops. We'll figure out a way to work you into Paranormal Radio. Thank you, folks, for all coming. Thank you. It was a joy meeting with you all and having you all on here. Tim, Sarah, Carrie, I forgot. Lisa, and Eileen. Eileen? Yeah, Eileen.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, we don't know what happened to Michelle, huh? She decided not to come.
She organized it for us.
She
works for my office.
She threw it together.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Michelle, hi. I'll see you next week.
Oh, thank you. Yes, she's wonderful.
You have been listening to Paranormal Radio with Bob Trzeciak from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, February the 7th, the year 2022. Paranormal Radio was directed by John DeVita, and the executive producer of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network is Mr. John Seconda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Monday, February the 7th, the year 2022. Until next time, thanks for listening and please be safe.